What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Aklon here, and as always, joined by Rurikon for yet another episode of the Mythic Banter. And Rurikon, of course, is showing an out-of-focus miniature.
It's like I'm doing my best.
Screen.
It's not focusing, man. It's like these Elgato face cams suck, dude. But like, look at the size of this thing. I fully painted it. I'm an artist, bro. That's what that is. I'm an artist.
Looks good, actually. Like, miniature painting is quite difficult. And
it is.
Looks good.
Like, look at this bad boy too. I've got 3 of them fully painted now, dude. Like, these bad boys are ready for the battlefield. And look at this one. This guy, you see this guy? Last weekend, you want to know what this guy did? He fired one rocket, took out 4 deathcore guys. 4 with one rocket. My friend was quite upset. He was like, what? But the funny part is, right? My friend, as we're playing Kill Team, he gets all upset at me. We were playing like a free-for-all, 3 players free-for-all. And he gets all upset at me. He's like, why'd you fire that rocket at me? When in the first turn of the game, you know what he did? I'm like, I'm placing down my sniper here. I'm placing down my rocket launcher guy here. And he goes like, okay, I'm going to throw a toxic grenade at you guys. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, don't worry. It doesn't deal damage. It just reduces their actions. And I was like, well, what the hell? That's messed up. And then he goes and he's like, oh, by the way, my spotter is seeing your sniper because my sniper was hidden. And I'm just like, what is all this aggression? And then I fire one tiny little rocket, blow up half of his army, and he gets all upset. And I'm just like, what did you expect? You're threatening me? You're saying you're watching my sniper? You put like gas grenades on top of my dudes, and then you're upset that I fire a rocket at you? I don't know what to tell you.
To be perfectly honest, I mean, the game is called Kill Team.
Yes.
So, you should be killing teams.
Yep.
Which seems like the basic approach to the game.
Bro.
You know, I might be wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about, but
Warhammer
it seems to me like that is. It's sort of like in World of Warcraft. You can't have war in World of Warcraft. Never mind what the name says.
Yep.
It is what it is.
You know what happened to this poor guy afterwards? He got one of his death cores with a big las gun or whatever it was. It wasn't even a las gun. It was some type of a plasma rifle, whatever. He shot him for like 10 times his hit points or something. It's like lasered him down. All was left was a little crater. The sniper was standing next to him, was like, what the hell just happened? My dwarven friend is dead. Bro, it's like,
oh man, if only it was real life. If only you could see the reation of your miniatures as you're playing with it.
Yeah, my sniper is probably just looking like, what the hell is going on? But it's like, this is the thing about tabletop gaming, right? We can all play video games, but nothing is as powerful as your imagination. And so it's like, like what's happening in Kill Team is so much fun.
I think it is one of the beautiful things about tabletop, right? It's why tabletop has not died out. Because it adds a layer of immersion that normal games just can't, because it's limited by the amount of code, by the amount of money that you have available. You can't just add as many options, right? And you can't add, specifically, I think what tabletop does that's so much better than actual games, and I'm not bashing on actual games here, but what it does is it basically allows for anything you can imagine you could do, right? Because the DM can literally respond to anything that you're doing.
Yeah, but that's Dungeons and Dragons. That's Dungeons and Dragons. That's different.
Well, Dungeons and Dragons is one thing, but you even have that in things like miniature games.
Oh, yeah.
Where they'll come up with sort of what they call rule of cool stuff, right? So you're doing something that's never been done before, but if all the players agree, dude, that's a cool thing to do, then you're allowed to do it, you know, and that sort of, in-house rules sort of thing that works. But all right, you guys came here not necessarily to talk about tabletop, although we could have that conversation.
Yes, tabletop gaming. It's time for you to get into Warhammer, Akalon. You need to make yourself a kill team, bro. It is what it is.
Hey, I live in South Africa, so you and I would probably not even be able to play together anyways.
Oh, yeah, but you just make a kill team because it's cool.
Yeah, well, I don't have time for that. They came for gaming news. So, of course, we'll start with politics.
Yes. Makes
but
sense.
Not really politics. We're going to talk about economics because last week, we had a conversation about import taxes and tariffs. And I said tariffs and import taxes are exactly the same thing. There were some people in the comment section that took offense to this, or at least took pause to this, and engaged with what I would call, and this is something that oftentimes happens, it's the nuance fallacy or the semantic fallacy, right? So they start diving into the semantics, and they go, well, actually, it's not the same thing, you're just a liar. Now, to the guys who engaged in this, if you were respectful and actually just sort of nice about it, this whole sort of takedown wouldn't happen. I wouldn't sit here and go over it again because I would just leave it there. But I feel that it is my duty to educate you on everything that you went through so that we can discuss it. So what is a tariff and what is an import tax? A tariff and an import tax is a tax on goods as it reaches the point of entry to a nation, i.e., a tax on imports. That's what it is. Okay, now, the difference between a tax and an import tax is that, or a tariff and an import tax, is that a tariff is applied to a specific nation on specific goods or categories of goods that that nation produces, right? Either at 20%, 25%, 30%, 100%. In Canada's situation, 270% for milk from the US. These are tariffs that are applied to specific nations for specific reasons, okay? An import tax is a tax that is applied to imports of general goods or categories of goods. And this applies to all goods from all nations that enter that country. Now, if we stopped it there and we didn't go any further, you would be absolutely correct in the comment section to say that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about because tariffs and import taxes aren't the same. The one is more punitive. It seems like it's targeting a specific nation with specific beat down taxes, and the other one just seems like generally they're taxing imports because they're trying to protect their services, right? Their industries from unnecessary competition from the outside. But that's not where it stops, because all nations that have import taxes have this small little thing called tax deals or trade deals, oftentimes called free trade deals, where they go to nations and they say, hey, we like you guys and we want to sell some shit to you. How about we make a free trade deal? You don't pay any of the import taxes into our nation, and we don't pay any of the import taxes into your nation. You buy our crap, and we'll buy your crap. Pretty simple, right? So at the end, after all of these free trade deals have been established by the host nation will have some countries that have to pay tax on all of the goods and categories of goods that they wish to export into the host nation, and some countries that don't have to pay that. At the end of tariffs, there will be some countries that pay taxes on the goods that they wish to export to the host nation, and some countries that will not pay tax on the goods that they wish to export into the host nation. So these two things, tariffs and import taxes, are exactly the same thing. The one simply front loads the objective, the other one backloads the objective, but both serve as a way to negotiate power within the world and to get certain countries to do the things that you want them to do. That's literally how they work. Does that make sense, Rurkon? I know you searched for the definition of the two things as well. You know,
I just did a quick chat GPT and it said, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, it said slightly different, but it's like, one's an import tax on this, the other one's an import tax on that. It's like it's an import tax. It's like,
yeah, it genuinely just one front loads, the other one back loads, but it both leads to exactly the same thing.
And
goods are taxed at point of entry.
There's this idea that I think that some people had, which was something like, oh, but I mean, tariffs are paid by the corporations. And it's like, and guess who the corporations are going to charge? It's like,
it's the same with import tax. It's also technically paid by the company or the corporation that imports it, right?
But
but it's still charged to the consumer.
You're selling a PlayStation, right? And it's not manufactured. Let's imagine for this scenario, the PlayStation is not manufactured in your country of origin, right? And so they're selling you a PlayStation, and suddenly you're like, okay, there's a tariff on all goods coming from wherever this PlayStation's coming from. Okay, PlayStation is now 25% more expensive to import. Guess who's paying that 25%? Initially, yes, the corporations. Guess what? PlayStations are now 25% more expensive because now you're paying for it. It's just that it doesn't matter who pays it. The consumer always ends up paying for it. Like it's just that simple.
I'm gonna engage in a bit of semantics here, like I just spoke about. It doesn't always automatically mean that the price increases by the exact amount of the import.
Oh yeah. They can be like, they can be nice. It's like it's we're paying 25%, but we're saving some for you, so it's like you only get to pay 19% more or something like that.
Yeah. Well, either that or sometimes companies may use more expensive travel or more expensive logistics, right?
Yeah.
And because of the import tax, they actually use cheaper logistics,
but it's
so that they can still offset the cost and stay the same. But technically, you are absolutely correct. Most of the time, it is a higher price.
Let me just explain to you the moment in my life, which was like, I don't freaking know, decades ago, where I became acutely aware of how some of this stuff works, was when I visited Brazil.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had literally just purchased not that long ago a PlayStation Vita in Portugal for 150 euros. And then I go to Brazil and they're selling that shit for like 4,000 reais, which is so much more than 150 euros. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this price? A year afterwards was when Nintendo said, you know what? We're done with Brazil, bro. Those people are crazy out there. Like, it's just, Nintendo just exited the Brazilian market. They're like, exit stage left. We're not doing this. It's crazy.
Isn't it like games in Brazil is also like insanely expensive?
Yes.
Like people in Brazil pay like double for games sometimes. It's
double,
ridiculous.
More like 10 times the games. Like it's completely ridiculous. Like if there are any Brazilian out there that watch our show, you guys can tell us how bad it is out there. But I've been there. Yeah. I've seen the prices, and this was like decades ago. I'm sure it's only worse now. So it's like, no, bro, forget about that. And the thing about Brazil, some of the nicest people in the world, straight up, but also one of the most corrupt countries in the entire world. Okay, like you're talking about, there is.
I mean, my country is giving it a go.
It's
trying to be the most corrupt.
You're not going to hold a candle to Brazil. Okay, listen, Brazil.
But my country's trying hard. It's trying hard.
Listen, my country isn't even trying anymore. We're just like medium on the corruption scale when compared. We're medium.
It's not an overachiever. It's happy with its results.
We're mediocre at everything, and that includes corruption. Okay. It's not even the good kind of corrupt. We're not even like amazing at it. We're just like mediocre at it. But like, listen, Brazil has this thing where you will see like the tallest skyscrapers, like the most luxury homes, and then one block away from that is like absolute fucking poverty, like absolute misery. It's a fucking favela. And you're just like, bro, how does this work? There is no middle class. There's like the extreme poor and the extreme wealthy that prey on those extreme poors. That's how it works in Brazil, which is very, very sad.
It's usually what protectionist states lead to, right? When you're overly protective about everything. This is why I don't even, so just to the people that I have spoken to at the beginning of the video, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm happy to disagree with people. I disagree with people all the time. And
I'm not trying to be a dick. I don't believe you.
No, I'm genuinely not trying to be a dick. The reason I take this shit seriously is because, and I'm not suggesting or even beginning to suggest that this is what you were doing in the comment section, but I'm getting sick and tired of people being dishonest and then misleading a bunch of other people about bullshit that just isn't real. Like when Kotaku last week writes their article about how Trump's tariffs is going to be the reason there's no more physical games. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? This has nothing to do with Trump's tariffs. They're trying to get rid of physical games long before Trump was even in office. They've been trying to get rid of physical games. Like, could it speed it up? Maybe. But is it the reason? Hell no. There's a bunch of other reasons for it, and none of them good, by the way. No one is celebrating the fact that they're getting rid of physical games. but this is just a nature of the game. You know, I didn't even put this on the list, but physical games being gone, try entire games being gone. Like the new Death Stranding 2 that has their collector's edition with no game.
I mean,
there's no physical game.
This isn't like something new. We've seen this a million times over. There's plenty of super collector's editions that don't have the game, which is something, by the way, that I think is ridiculous. It's like, the fuck do you mean? I'm buying this super expensive collector's edition, and it's like for my convenience somehow. There's no fucking game in there. Not even a goddamn game code.
No. Wait. No. What I'm trying to point out is the lies. How the lies work, because that's the articles was all. It doesn't come with the game.
Yeah.
It does come with the game code.
The
game code is literally in the collector's edition.
It doesn't come with a physical edition.
But they claim it doesn't come with a game. No, but they don't say physical. They just say it doesn't come with a game.
I still like physical. I still prefer physical.
No. I think for the amount of money that a collector's edition costs, you should give me a gold-plated disc. Like, not even just a normal disc. I should get a gold-plated disc with my name signed on it.
Yeah.
Like, that shit should be specialized, because a lot of these collector's editions are the size of, like, houses, or the price of a house sometimes. They're ridiculously expensive. And I think, actually, the Death Stranding one is quite expensive. I can't remember the price now off the top of my head. But I don't like the lies when we can actually have discussions in all honesty about what the dangers are of tariffs and why tariffs should be used sparingly. But we have to be honest about it. So that's why I felt it is required of me to take some time to explain the difference between tariffs and import taxes.
But now we're getting,
so that our viewers know.
Now we're getting one guide, though, so it's time to move on.
Yeah, I'm just...
Don't get one guide.
Because it's not just them. It's the media industry as a whole. They keep doing this bullshit. And it is annoying. Talking about how they keep doing this bullshit and the lies keep going. I mean, for the last 5 or 6 years, we've been told basically nonstop that RTX is the future. AI upscaling is the future.
Oh my God. Ooh.
Fake frames is the future, right? We need to embrace the world of the fake frame. We've been told that all of the old technologies are useless. They don't really work. They can't get the same fidelity out of these old technologies that we used to have, and that only RTX and AI upscaling and fake frames can provide the level of quality that you and I expect from our video games. So in a recent video, Threat Interactive, it's a YouTuber, has about 100 and something thousand subscribers, went after Digital Foundry and basically called for people to unsubscribe from Digital Foundry because of lies that Digital Foundry is just outright purporting on behalf of the gaming industry. He even goes so far in his video to show at least tangentially evidence of Digital Foundry being harsher on games where they can't get developer interviews and a lot nicer on games where they do get developer interviews. Right? So basically picking and choosing how they approach the criticism of video games. So Digital Foundry got completely dragged. Then literally going to his channel, the very next video over is him attacking Linus Tech Tips for lying about RTX and about AI upscaling. Now, he doesn't attack in the way of just, throwing out insults and calling them names. He actually shows you why they're lying. Like, why what they're saying is just not true. And in some of his videos, he actually shows you why games are so poorly optimized these days. Like, why we get games that just will not work. And also why so many games look ass. Why you look at the game and you go, dude, I don't know what the hell's wrong, but everything's blurry, things aren't really sharp, everything's sort of weird. And as it turns out, there's sort of been a bit of manipulation, according to this guy, by Nvidia, very specifically.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked and appalled at these accusations of my precious Nvidia and their big green dick. I'm shocked and appalled. I can't believe you would say such things.
Anyway. Nvidia has basically forced developers into a bit of a corner, which the CEOs actually love this. Because, surprise, surprise, guys, guess how almost every game gets RTX and AI upscaling? It's literally stock code that you download and put in. It's stock. It comes from Nvidia. You just take it and you put it in. It's not optimized. It doesn't do anything. It just adds the functionality. The issue is that a lot of the...
Fucking kill me, bro. I've been screaming against this RTX bullshit. This worthless fucking feature. Like, literally worthless. Like, I'm sorry, bro. I know that some people out there's like, actually, I love seeing the pretty reflections. Like, okay, motherfucker, go look at a goddamn painting, okay? They do real good reflections on fucking art, okay?
Yeah.
Like, on a video game, I want to look at the fucking frames go up, okay? Frames go up. Frames go higher, like stonks, just higher frames, more frames. And to the people that are going to come in here, because for some reason, always somebody shows up that starts going, actually, you can't see past 30 FPS. And then some people pull out the random one. You can't see past 48 FPS. And then other people go like, you can't see past 60 FPS. And I'm like, to all you fucking people, I must be a goddamn freak of nature because I can tell when a game's running at 100 or fucking 200. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. And I can't even see straight. Look at these fucking glasses, bro. Okay? I have both. I have like astigmatism and myopia, and I can still fucking tell the goddamn frames. That's impressive. I'm a freak of nature. I'm fucking Tyler One for my eyes. Like, what the fuck?
That is a weird post.
What's a weird post?
That's like a very weird brag. My eyes are the bestest.
My eyes are the bestest, and I have astigmatism and myopia. And actually, I don't think you guys say myopia in English. I think you just say nearsighted. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, nearsighted.
Yeah,
or
I'm nearsighted, and I have astigmatism, and I can tell them.
But I mean, I don't
frames,
know if maybe the technical term is myopic or myopic.
Whatever.
I don't know what the technical terms are for that shit. Most people just say nearsighted or farsighted or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm astigmatic as well, I think.
Yeah.
In the one eye. And that's why I have to have the glasses. But so Nvidia, it's not just Nvidia, by the way. He also shows you how Epic Games with Unreal Engine, all of their AI solutions.
No, I don't believe you. I've never complained about Unreal Engine. I don't believe you.
See, the problem is,
you are lying.
So they have the nano light technology. You know, their sort of AI, all their AI suites in Unreal Engine 5. He shows you how all of these are implementations to save time.
Oh, yeah.
But they make games worse because the optimization required to make these AI upscaling technologies work requires engine developers. Normal developers don't know how to do these things because these are engine things. And most studios these days, when they use Unreal Engine, no longer have engine techs that work for them. That's why they switch to Unreal Engine, because they can get rid of their in-house engine techs. So what happens is you have stock code that you pull into your code, in your game, and you go, RTX, let's go. The issue is that RTX, as it turns out, is actually, for some things, very bad.
No,
for example,
let's
if
be
it's
honest,
foliage...
It's terrible for everything. RTX is just fucking bad for everything. Period.
He actually explains that RTX isn't even what people think RTX is. Like, technically speaking, even without the AI RTX graphics, almost all things are RTX because it's ray tracing.
Yes.
And you can do ray tracing by hand, or you can do ray tracing by graphics card. The problem is when you do ray tracing, for example, on things like foliage, so grass and little bushes, you're asking the graphics card to compute things that are overcomplicated. It doesn't have to compute any of these things, but in normal TAA or SMA, all the other SMAA, I mean, there's so many, like the legacy technologies. in the legacy technologies, the graphics card doesn't have to do any of these computations because they're there. In RTX, the graphics card has to compute everything. And it just makes the whole process so overcomplicated that your graphics card, and he actually shows how with proper graphics cards and optimization, you have games that shouldn't be using more than about 40% of the GPU, use 90% of the GPU just because of how the optimization works. How these developers keep putting all of these unnecessary technologies into games. And he goes on to actually say what is presented as time-saving methods end up not saving time. Because all of the time that you didn't just do the AA or the rasterization, you're now trying to optimize the AI rasterization to actually do the thing that you needed to do when rasterization would just have been easier from the get-go.
And the thing is, I'm like, again, I don't have any proof, so this is all allegations, but I would imagine that a lot of this stuff is stuff that, like you've said, Nvidia is selling people on RTX technology.
Oh, yeah.
And they're probably going up to a lot of developers and just going like, oh, this would be so much easier if you just implement RTX. Like, trust us, the code is so much more optimized if you have RTX, whatever.
Well, and it's actually, it's worse than that, because it's exactly what you said, but it's more indirect than that. Because Nvidia sells RTX as this amazing technology, a lot of normie gamers demand RTX in their games. So the developer cannot not put RTX in their game, otherwise normie gamers are going to think this game isn't high quality. So the developers are sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. Either you add the RTX, which then makes everything worse, or you don't add the RTX, and then gamers think you didn't spend enough money on your game to make it look good.
If I was a developer, I'd just be like, no, our game has no RTX. Because RTX is a garbage...
I would put that front page.
It's like a garbage technology.
The name of the game.
It is a garbage technology, a worthless technology that Nvidia fucking invented to sell their garbage GPUs. And then Nvidia proceeded to sabotage the entire fucking gaming industry into gaslighting them into believing that RTX is good. And then they created this performance problem with RTX, which, by the way, this is a fact. RTX is a fucking performance nightmare. But then they created this performance problem and they sold you the solution. The solution to this RTX problem is AI upscaling. I can't wait for somebody to show up in the comment section and be like, actually, these guys have no fucking idea what they're talking about. RTX is so good. As he's like slobbering on Nvidia's knob, he's like, oh, RTX so just like fucking choking on Nvidia's green dick, telling me all about how RTX is amazing. It's like, little bro, I've tested RTX on a bunch of different games, little bro. In 90% of games, you know how people tell you that you can't see past 30 FPS? You definitely can see past 30 FPS. But now I'm going to tell you, in 90% of games, you can't tell whether RTX is on or off. You can't. You fucking can't. And if you can, guess what? It's fucking pointless because your frame rate's going to be so much shit that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that. So first and foremost, to anyone that doesn't quite understand it, the human eye does not work in frames per second. Technically, the human eye's frame per second detection is unlimited.
Yes.
At least theoretically. We don't know what the upper limit would be before the human eye physically can no longer detect it. When you think about real life and light streaming into the eye, it's permanently streaming into the eye. It's not streaming into the eye in frames. So the more the light on the screen can be permanently streamed into your eye, in other words, frame for frame, because that's where the light is. Technically, if you were able to pause the screen literally in between frames, you would get a black screen as one frame is interlaced on top of the other one, right? Because that's what frames mean. There's a new frame every second, or hundreds of new frames every second. So if you could go to nanoseconds and you could really get in there, now that means there's a disruption in the light, right? The light stops going and then it goes again. So technically, if you could get rid of frames and just have the frames be constant, which would be impossible, but if you could, that would be real life. Congratulations, you're now streaming your game in real life resolution. Lights just constantly
real
coming
life
into the
frame
eye.
rate.
Yeah, like unlimited frame rates, basically. But even there, there's so much bullshit around frame rates. The guy goes into a video completely showing how frame rates is inconsequential, because what matters more is the stability of frame rates rather than the actual maximum of frame rates. Like even at 60 FPS,
frame rate
if
pacing.
it's stable at 60, your eye will adapt and absolutely accept the image as perfectly normal. The problem is if a game goes 60, 25, 60, 30, 60, that's when you go, oh, wow, this game is buggy as hell. This does not seem good to me. Right? So I think the thing is we've all, as gamers, become sort of victims of marketing.
Oh, absolutely.
Where we have Nvidia marketing all of these AI technologies. We have Unreal putting out these videos with all of their AI technologies. We have FPS as like a standard that we need to be hunting for the whole time, with monitors coming out now that has 480 frames per second capacities. And you're like, bro,
I remember
none of these things matter.
I remember when I bought my monitor, like I actually splurged on a monitor a couple of months ago because I've never really had a great monitor. Like I've had usually when it came to monitors, I'll just buy the cheapest piece of shit. And this last one, I was like, no, I want to treat myself. I want to get something nice. Okay, I've been working a lot. I need a nice monitor. And I was like, man, this monitor's got like everything that I want, but I feel like it's got too many hertz. Because like it's 240, and I'm like, motherfucker, I ain't never getting a goddamn game running at 200 frames in this optimization. No. You're lucky if you get 100, let alone 240. But it's also like it's curved, it's OLED, and I'm like, oh, it's so nice. I love it. But the reality is like there's no game that's ever gonna break 200 FPS nowadays. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, I'm gonna break a lot of people's brains here, but when I'm streaming games, which is usually when I play them, I cap it at 60 anyways, because it creates less problems with OBS.
Fuck that shit.
At least because I'm only streaming on a single PC, my game's resolution and frame rates needs to match or be multiplied by factor of 2 for OBS to work. So either at 60 or 120, I find 60 is just fine. And it runs perfectly smooth. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not like Rurkon. My eyes don't see absolute differences. As long as the frames are stable, I'm happy with whatever the hell.
I mean, listen, at the same time, I can just as easily play a Switch game at 30 FPS and I'll be perfectly happy. The point was...
but no, we know...
I like it
We
higher,
know that there are...
And I can tell when it's higher.
Obviously. Right, yeah, but we know that there are some people that can detect frame differences, that's very sensitive to frame differences.
Oh, yeah.
And there's other people who aren't. Now, I actually should probably look into why that is. That's an interesting idea. I would guess it's that some people, like, the eye or the brain just takes over and it sort of fake frames it up anyway, so it just accepts it as fine, right?
I have frame generation built in right here.
You have frame generation built in right here. Technically, you do, right? Yeah. Technically, you do. We know that people have frame generation built in. Yeah. That's how you can put fake ideas into people's minds, and the brain will just create the frame, right? That makes you think, oh, I absolutely saw that dude rob that lady, even though that dude wasn't even there at the time. But anyways, that's a whole different topic. We should start a new podcast for that shit. But technically, the point here is we've all become victims of marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Where all of these technologies are marketed to us that in most cases don't make games better.
They don't.
They don't add to games in any way, shape, or form. They actually just make games worse. And what this guy actually explains is, there's this concept or this belief that, they'll patch it later. They'll fix it in patch. And he explains how a lot of the problems with RTX and with the AI upscaling stuff, these are problems that exist on a foundational coding level. They're not patchable. You can't patch them out of the game. You would have to basically redo most of the game's foundation just to fix these problems that these AI stuff has introduced.
I wouldn't even put it past Nvidia that they maliciously design it that way. Like a fucking virus. It's like, oh yeah, here's our code. It's super easy to use. It'll just work. You just put this in. You just plug this into your whatever you're doing, and then we'll interface with our GPU. Like, it's gonna be great. It'll just work. And then once people do it, it's like, and now you're fucked because you can't get rid of it. Because if you try getting rid of it, your game's not gonna render properly on our GPUs. Yeah. And guess what? We own like fucking. I think Nvidia probably has like 90% of the fucking market share at this point. No, I should look up those stats. I don't actually know.
We genuinely need to start talking about GPU pricing and GPU generation.
Absolutely.
And the reason for that is, if we remove all the RTX bells and whistles, which I'm not entirely convinced, and maybe some of you are more sensitive to this and you absolutely love the fact that you can see this building's reflection in the puddle of water be in front of you. Maybe that is something that you actually care about. It's definitely not something that I give a shit about. I remember being immersed to the max in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
Dude.
And it had definitely none of the upscaling or RTX bullshit.
Listen, apparently I'm actually correct. There's an article on Tech Power Up says Nvidia GPU market share hits 90% in Q4 2024. I just pulled that number out of my ass. What the fuck?
No, I mean, Nvidia's been dominating the market. Why do so many of you buy
Nvidia? Stop! This is your fault.
Good reason. No, but it's not really their fault, because this is the whole point of marketing, right? Marketing is meant to create the problem and then sell the solution to the people of the problem. The problem created is that graphics are really boring and bland and can't be realistic without RTX. RTX is selling the solution. AMD is lagging so far behind on the RTX discussion that no one wants to buy an AMD graphics card because it can't RTX. Which, again, I come back to my original assertion. Why is it important for me to see a building that isn't in my screen in the reflection of the puddle of water?
Let me just
that does not lead to more immersion.
Let me just say something, okay?
Don't believe that.
Whenever you tell me that, AMD cards can't do RTX, and I was like, this sounds like a great thing. What do you mean this is a positive? This is just like, this is a selling point.
Right? I actually agree with you, because if we look generation on generation, just at rasterization performance, so we remove RTX from the conversation, generation on generation, AMD almost beats Nvidia in ordinary, what we would call proper graphics of PCs.
You want to know what is the one thing that upsets me about AMD? Is they haven't figured out CUDA cores. CUDA cores is the thing that I personally care about as a content creator, because it makes rendering better. It makes like processing certain videos better. Like, it's just better for the content creator workflow to have an NVIDIA. Even though I don't have one, okay? Like, the video that you are watching, my point of view right now, is being recorded on an Intel B580 and with their encoding and shit, rather than NVIDIA. I've completely removed NVIDIA from my systems. I'm gone. Wow. Okay, I'm not a part of the problem anymore. You people supporting up the structure of RTX are part of the problem. And with the current,
I sort of wonder
the current GPU releases, by the way, of the 9070,
the 9070 and the 9080,
or whatever it is,
XT.
It's like, if you're still buying NVIDIA, like, listen, at this point, you just want the problem to continue. That's where I'm at. Because the 50 series is garbage. It is. They're literally selling you garbage. They're selling you GPUs that don't even have all of the rasterization units, okay? You are being taken advantage of at a rate that isn't even beginning to be reasonable anymore. That's what I would say. Yeah. But whatever.
I would say, unless you're gunning to buy the 5080 or the 5090, the 9070 XT is better than anything NVIDIA offers. Like, hands down, better. The issue, of course, is most gaming companies are RTX forward now, so they don't put enough effort into rasterization, which means even though these cards are good, they're probably going to lag behind when studios finally reject rasterization entirely and just start relying on the fake frames that Nvidia cards can generate. Because it is for it's not a good system for developers. It's not a great system for gamers, but it is amazing for hardware sellers, and it is lovely for executives because it's a one-size-fits-all, slap it in, and let the fake frames worry about anything. By the way, that's the whole point of DLSS.
Yeah.
It wasn't invented for any other reason than they know RTX makes things worse. It literally is way too hungry for what it actually produces. Like, I'm with you here. If RTX took graphics from like an 80 to like 150 or like 100, it literally made it double better. I would probably have been like, you know what? I can justify the performance losses. The issue is RTX on will sometimes remove performance more than 50%, right? So your frames go from 80 to 40 if you're lucky, right? But it doesn't give double the visual fidelity. It doesn't make the game look twice as good. It makes the game not even good or better looking, at least for me in Cyberpunk 2077, as I said last week. I play with RTX off because I hate the way the game looks with RTX on, because RTX on just makes everything look shiny. And I don't want to play a game where everything looks shiny. By the way, I mean, just look at the price differences for the 50 series versus the 40 series. Remove the fake RTX shit and just look at normal rasterization. The uplift is abysmal compared to the price lift.
Yeah.
You're not actually getting a much better GPU. You're getting a slightly better GPU for a massively increased price because they slap RTX 4 or whatever the hell it is on it and go, this is so much better than anything you guys have seen before.
You mean DLSS 4?
Whatever the package is called these days. Because I don't even think that, because what's interesting is all the DLSS packages, right, can only be used on certain GPUs. Like, not all GPUs. Like, I have an RTX card, but I can only use DLSS 2. DLSS 3.0 doesn't run on my card.
Wait, DLSS 3 doesn't...
Series.
You need a 40 series for DLSS 3?
You need a 40 series for DLSS 3.0. DLSS 2.0 is for the 30 series. I don't know if they've patched it in later, but my point was, hold up, I have all the same cores, just fewer. How can I not, like, what optimization is this? Like, how is it? Because it's not like the 40 or the 50 series have different cores than my card. They have the same cores, they just have more of them. So technically, if it's a 3.0, it's better than a 2.0. It should be more optimized to be able to run on fewer cores better. But there's sort of this weird tier where they now use the DLSS framework to force upgrade.
It's
you can't upgrade unless you...
I've always looked at DLSS as like a way for, if you have a weaker GPU, you can use DLSS to make up for that and kind of like catch up, right? Whereas now DLSS is being sold as like, oh no, like, guys don't understand. This is going to be so much better if you use DLSS. And again, I always come back to this comment that I once got on Twitter when I was complaining about this, and I was like, how about we just render the frames the way God intended? Okay, can we just like render the real frames without? And people are like, you don't understand. It's so unoptimal. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean unoptimal, bro? You're spending $2,000 on the GPU. I don't give a fuck how optimal it is. It better fucking do the job. If you're spending $2,000 on a piece of hardware, it can't even render frames properly. It needs fucking fake frames.
Yeah,
and
but
I say this as someone who's using frame gen right now, by the way. I don't like it. So, but I'm still using it. Here's how we know that this complete thing is bullshit, right? So I just asked Grok, can it do it? Have they fixed it? Because at launch, it couldn't. And it says, well, no, actually, the 30 series cards cannot run the full suite of offerings for DLSS 3.0. It can only run some of it, but the big reason for DLSS 3.0, that can't be done with the 30 series cards. But if you have a 30 series card, you can use alternatives to DLSS 3.0, which is FSR 3.0, which offers most of the exact same things that DLSS 3.0 offers, but you can also use it with the 30 series card.
which proves my initial point. DLSS 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, these are artificial sort of points of cancellation.
Oh, yeah.
If you want 3.0, you must go for the 40 series and up, or else it won't run. But technically, it can run on your 30 series. We just don't want you to. And therefore, we don't allow you to.
This is one of those things where if Nvidia hadn't been as dominant as it was on the market, we probably would have seen a bigger rise on Vulkan, which was it was an alternative to the DirectX, which the DirectX is another piece of technology that we barely even talk about because Microsoft's kind of like, they don't even talk about it anymore. Okay, listen, everything runs on DirectX. But let's not talk about DirectX, okay? DirectX good. DirectX very good, okay? No, DirectX is actually a piece of shit too. Okay, so it's just so we could have had
actually not good. But
Vulkan would have probably beaten out all of that shit, and it would have been better developed. But
I mean, if we really started getting into the conversation here, we are being held hostage by, first and foremost, Microsoft holds a lot of people hostage with DirectX, but then also, coincidentally, with x86. Yeah. Because Microsoft and Windows will only run on the x86 architecture.
Wait, we're on 64 bits now.
The 64 bits is still based on the x86 architecture. It's improvements, but the architecture.
This one I'm not so sure of. I'm not gonna.
This is where it was big news with the M.1 from Apple, right? So M.1. Apple's M.1 thing comes out, and it's the reason it was big news is because it was completely breaking away from the x86 architecture. So x86 architecture, we're talking about how your motherboard is laid out, where the CPU goes, where the RAM goes.
We're not on x86 anymore. We're on x64.
Look at every single one of your files, right? Go into your program files, for example, and you will find that there's still compatibility for x86.
Yes, there is.
Because the architecture has not changed. I'm talking about the physical architecture. So we're not talking programming here. We're not talking software. We're talking physical layout. So you have your motherboard, you have your CPU in a specific spot, you have your RAM in a specific spot, you have the PCI Express lanes in a specific spot. All of this is still the exact same framework. They still use the exact same hardware. There are better ones out there. This is where Apple switched to M1 and they get more performance out of it.
I'm not going to make an absolute claim, but you're welcome to, No, I'm not making one because I'm not 100% sure, and I don't like making absolute claims.
It's fine.
I'm not sure, but I think you're wrong. I think x64 is different architecture from x86. It is compatible with x86. There's the reason why we have the program files 86 or x86, whatever they fucking call it, and the regular one. It's because x86, while compatible, it's different. It's different from x64.
There's a very easy fix. Go get an x86 motherboard and an x64 motherboard and put them side by side and look at them.
I don't even have x86 motherboards anymore.
Go on the internet and look at them. They're literally just evolutions of the same architecture, right? So x86 or x64 is literally just an improvement on the existing architecture, but at a foundational level. So in other words, what I'm talking about here is at a restrictional level. So in other words, what is the restrictions and performance that these platforms introduce? The restrictions remain exactly the same. There is a restriction just based on how it works. In other words, how far is your RAM from your CPU? How far is your PCI Express lanes from the CPU? How far is your SATA drives from the CPU? It might not make sense on a technical or on like a realistic level, because what we're talking about here is like nanoseconds between the travel time, but they do introduce travel time, which over billions of actions and things happening per second, you will start noticing this travel time. This is why Apple's M.1 was such a big breakaway from the original platform or foundation, because it decided to go M.1. right? I was watching. The only reason I know this is because at the time of the announcement of M.1, I believe it was either Steve from Gamers Nexus or Linus Tech Tips that made a video about how absolutely insane this move from Apple actually was. Because it's firstly the first time that Apple has done something new in the space, right? Where they didn't just sort of copy the work of everyone else. But then more importantly, they actually said goodbye to the x86 architecture.
Actually, this isn't the first time they're returning to it. They didn't used to have x86 architecture. Apple went to Intel some point, like, you know, I think over a decade ago, whatever. They went to Intel, and now they're just going back to what they used to do.
Yeah. They're doing their own thing now, which is the point, right? Apple is finally going out and sort of saying, you know what, there's better technologies out there. And we have seen that, at least for workflow. If you get an Apple, you are beating anything PC can throw at it. Like, you put normal workflow, this is why most editors work on Apple. They don't work with PC because it's much better for workflow and for like heavy duty work. And the M.1 just takes that further because it allows for almost all of the shit to exist on a single chip, right? So the RAM, the CPU, the graphics all exist on like a single space, and the layout is completely different. So it allows for much faster communication between the different components. The point I was making is because Microsoft is the predominant operating system, Nvidia or Intel or AMD can't suddenly bring out a CPU on whatever. There's like hundreds of different architectures out there, right? Like theoretical ones and also some practical ones. But they can't switch to any of these because then most gamers on Windows is incapable of using these new machines. And also it would require everyone to upgrade everything. You won't just be able to upgrade your CPU because that new CPU isn't going to work on the x86 architecture. So, in essence, we're held hostage by Nvidia, right? And I just need to be clear because I'm already seeing the comments here of people going, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about," because actually this is how it works. I am skipping over a lot of the technical stuff because it doesn't matter. The point stands. Microsoft holds us hostage in terms of hardware requirements. Nvidia holds us hostage in terms of graphics requirements. And at the end of the day, the only people that pay the price for this is the consumer. You and I pay the price for this. We either buy subpar components that operate at an immediate disadvantage because of the architecture that it's on, or we're forced to pay $2,003. I mean, I think there's 5090 series now for $3,000 for a 5090. Me.
I expected it to be
$3,000 for the shit.
The thing is, here's what happens when it comes to the prices of these GPUs. You can make them $5,000 and people will buy it.
Yeah.
So it's like, from Nvidia's point of view, it's like, why do we give a fuck? People are going to buy this no matter what price we put on it. So fuck them. And, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm just quickly searching something here. I just want to make sure of something. But yeah, so here's what I'm just going to use what Grok says because it's easier. So Grok says x86 and x64 are not exactly the same foundational architecture, but they are closely related. They belong to the same family of instructions.
I told you.
Architectures.
It is. I'm pretty sure it's different.
No, wait. You can't say you told me because it boils down to the exact same thing. This is where I said now we're getting into nuanced discussion again, right? Because it says here, they belong to the same family of instruction set architectures with a shared heritage where x64 is an extension of x86. Yes. So at a foundational level, based on the instructions and how the instructions work, they are the same. They do the exact same thing. They require the exact same stuff. So x86 or x64, as I said, is literally just an evolution of x86. Not like M.1, which is obviously not an evolution.
M.1 is just completely different thing. It's completely different, yes. If that's the point you're trying to make, sure, whatever.
my point stands, right? We're held hostage because Microsoft uses x86 and x64.
It's not
doesn't
just,
allow for anything else.
It's not
so
just
you,
Microsoft.
You can't really go away from it.
It's not just Microsoft. There's more operating systems that you could use, but I don't know enough about that.
Yeah, but
nowadays.
I mean, the other operating systems like Linux and these guys are basically all playing by the same rules. Because if you're Linux and you're making an operating system for some weird architecture, right? That doesn't even exist. Who's using it because it doesn't exist?
Linux can also run on the Apple processors, though, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because Apple brought out a new architecture. So Linux obviously created a version of it. What I'm saying
is, like, back when I started getting into Macs, like several years ago, I mean, the Mac OS operating system is based on some distribution of Linux, basically. So, like on a foundational. No, I'm not like theorizing here. I know for a fact, like on a foundational level, you could bring up a terminal window and do some like Linux shenanigans on an Apple operating system. And so the thing is, Linux can run on pretty much anything. Linux, it doesn't matter. Okay, x86, x64, M1, whatever the fuck. Linux doesn't care. Linux runs on everything, so long as you know how to properly do the coding on it and compiling and whatever else you need to do.
But you would have to code it for the architecture, right? Because the architecture is what tells... the architecture has a specific requirement in terms of a program needs to know where to go to access certain things. You don't tell the operating system where to get it. It's not going to know where to go.
I don't know the exact terminology for it. I don't think you have to code it specifically. It's more like how you compile the Linux code. It probably needs to be compiled in a different way to work, but it does run.
We're getting into a massively technical conversation here, but effectively, the reason an operating system is important is the operating system needs to know where to get what. So if a game or a program requires RAM, where is that RAM? The operating system has to know that, right? So there's going to be some level of coding where you tell it, by the way, the RAM isn't here, it is here, right? So whether you compile it or whatever, there's going to have to be some kind of code that tells the operating system where to get what. This is one of the reasons Windows is so absolutely dog shit, is because there's so many different components out there that Windows has to run on, and it needs to know how every single one of these components operates, so it slows shit down. Well, that's one of the reasons. That's not all the reason. The other reason is because Microsoft is
optimized.
Shit.
Yeah, it's also tremendously optimized. The DLL library system is fucking atrocious, and like this is one of the reasons.
And we still run on. There's so much old code still in Windows that I mean, I watched the video the other day where it shows that there's still code from like Windows 9.98.
That
is still just there, like legacy code that still just exists.
The DLL library
never been removed.
It's great, but it's like this is one of the reasons why several years ago I was absolutely convinced that, like, bro, listen, Mac OS is just so much more optimal than Windows. There's no way this doesn't take over Windows, and then it never did, because it doesn't matter if it's better. It actually that's when I realized, like, it doesn't matter if something is better. It just doesn't matter. And this is the reason why we're still eating RTX slop, because it doesn't matter if games run better without it. This doesn't matter. This doesn't even factor into anyone's decision. All it matters is who holds the keys to the castle, who holds the power. Right now it's Nvidia and Microsoft, so you're going to eat the RTX slop because that's what you're going to fucking get. It's just that simple.
Of course. Right? Yeah, of course. And again, to people who sort of might know a lot more about this, maybe you're, working in this field, I'm definitely not trying, and I don't think Rurikon is either. I'm not trying to be technically correct with everything. For me, it's always more important, especially in these conversations, what's the outcome, right? So what is the outcome of these things? And as long as those are fine, that's what matters, right?
That's the outcome.
And that's the point, right? The point of all of these conversations isn't to get super technical. If you want that, there's definitely podcasts out there that is run by graphics card aficionados that know how to build graphics cards on their own. That's going to tell you exactly how much copper is used, and because they're using 56 milligrams of copper and not 55 milligrams of copper, you're losing this much of this bullshit. I don't care about that. I care about what is the outcome. The outcome is that because Microsoft controls all of the market share for operating systems, or most of it at least, we're stuck with inferior architecture.
It's more so
because Nvidia
Microsoft
controls 90%. We're stuck with RTX bullshit when we shouldn't have to be.
It's more so that Microsoft controls the highest percentage of operating systems that are used for gaming specifically. I don't know if Microsoft's dominance on the operating system is as big anymore, because there's actually a lot of very viable Linux solutions, although a lot of people still don't use them because everybody just knows how to use Microsoft or whatever.
I know a lot of businesses actually use Linux solutions, especially if they have an IT department. Most IT departments prefer Linux-based solutions, because there's a lot more protection that you can build into it. Yeah, a lot more security. And also, it's a lot easier for IT techs that know what they're doing to fix that bullshit if something does go wrong. Whereas Windows, you know what? A few years ago, I wanted to set up the home network on my Windows 10 at the time, because on Windows 7, we had a home network, which allowed for all of my brothers to connect to my PC to watch series and movies and whatever, right? So it was really cool. This was back when I was sailing the high seas for a lot of my series and my movies, before Netflix and these things became a big deal. And in South Africa, getting that shit was almost impossible. Then I switched to Windows 10. And guess what's the first thing that I cannot get working? The home network. It's there. But to get people to actually see your PC, you need a degree in bloody software engineering or network engineering just to understand how to make these things connect with each other. Because I have 4 brothers, right? We're all sharing a house. We live in a commune sort of thing back now. This was back in the day. 2 of them can connect to my PC. The other 2 can't even see my PC. The settings on all PCs exactly the same.
You think that's bad? Listen, you've ever heard about the Samba protocol?
No.
Oh yeah. That's what you have to deal with whenever you have PCs and Macs in the same network. You have to deal with SMBs and different shares.
Okay.
I was doing this back in the day because when I was working on the large format printing company, it's like I was doing both printer maintenance as well as IT, because guess what? You have to be like multifaceted. And so a lot of the shit was like I would have to get this Mac OS server to communicate with both the Macs and the PCs and different versions of Windows operating system. Bro, this was a fucking nightmare.
I can imagine.
Absolute nightmare scenario, trying to set up Samba shares. And then sometimes it just would stop working. And guess what I'd have to do? I'd have to like remote into the server and just go like, okay, turn off the SMB service, turn it back on, and now it's working. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Dude, yeah. I mean,
so many nights that I've spent fucking maintaining that piece of trash.
We're held hostage by big corporations that basically can do whatever they want. And until Nvidia gets challenged for their top spot, prices are not going to come down. They have no reason to drop their prices. RTX is going to remain a thing until gamers wake up and realize RTX is not better. I'm not suggesting that RTX shouldn't be a function. I'm suggesting studios shouldn't start with RTX.
I'm suggesting
they should start
RTX.
with rasterization.
No, I'm suggesting RTX shouldn't be a function because it's done so much fucking damage that we just need to get rid of it. Just fucking get rid of it. It's worthless. Absolutely fucking worthless.
There are applications where RTX is actually much easier and it does actually work well.
In movies.
In movies, but also this guy does show how for some things RTX actually makes performance better. The problem is that they're overusing it because once you have that code, trying to figure out how to use that code only in specific scenarios is too hard, so they just do it for everything. Because again, you need an engine specialist to be able to do these things because RTX is fundamentally an engine specialization. It has nothing to do with real code, at least not in terms of what game coders would be working with. So anyways, that's the topic of Threat Interactive and me and Murkon hating on Nvidia and AMD and everyone else effectively. Let's talk about something that me and Murkon absolutely also agree with and also love to hate on. Dragon Age the Veilguard. Now, Murkon,
I don't love to hate on Dragon Age the Veilguard. I like my little dwarf. It was cool.
I love to hate on Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Cool adventure I had with my little dwarf.
I thought I was going to have good news for you, but instead I'm going to have very bad news for you. That little dwarf game that you really enjoyed, right? And that the 1.5 million players that engaged with it, not purchased it, but engaged with it.
Hey, see,
the 1.5 million.
I count for that. Yeah. For that, I count for that percentage because I was given a review code for the game. So
I count for that percentage as well because I signed up for 1 month of EA Pro Play, and then I immediately unsubscribed from EA Pro Play, and I only played 5 hours of it. But I am technically one of the 1.5 million people that engaged with the game. So the game launched a few months ago. I think it's like 4 months ago, 3 months ago. No, 4 months ago. Thereabouts. It's November last year that the game launched. They announced 2 months ago that a month ago actually, they announced that Dragon Age the Veilguard will be free for PS Plus subscribers. By the way, for those of you that don't immediately go, what? That's a big deal. PS Plus games, especially AAA games, don't go for PS Plus free within the first year of the game going live. Why would you give your game away for free if you don't have to?
You're not giving it away for free. I would say I'm assuming Sony is paying some percentage.
No, Sony obviously pays you a lot of money for it. But in a lot of cases, if your game is selling brilliantly well, you're not going to immediately put it on the PS Plus. Why would you do that, right? You can at least get 6 to 8 months to maybe a year of sales on that game before you take the bag from Sony, so to speak. They took the bag from Sony. Sony, of course, lost a lot of money because even though they took the bag, the game was not even able to break into the top 10 for a trophy something. I was looking at it yesterday, but it's a website that basically tracks like 3.4 million active Sony accounts. And it looks across the board at data for how people are playing. Monster Hunter Wilds broke into the top 10 easily with the number 7 spot. Now, to go past the number 7 spot would be very difficult, mainly because you have Fortnite and Minecraft and all of these like monster games, right, in the first 7. But I mean, Monster Hunter Wilds got into top 7 easily. And it might actually go higher, just looking at how people are still playing that game.
Oh, yeah.
Which is another thing we should be talking about. This is probably the first time in the history of ever that you have a game that is topping Steam charts everywhere, but has mixed reviews. So people love this game so much that even though the performance is dog poo, they're still playing
it.
Yeah. They're still like, screw it, I'll make you play this. And their GPU is sort of screaming while they're playing this.
No!
They're going, but anyways, the game managed to get number 15 on the slot. And it turns out that another game that is also part of the PS Plus, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Collection. These are very old games. Beat Dragon Age the Veilguard. It came at number 14.
Bro, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat-em-up games are really fucking good, though. Those are some good-ass games. I played those back in the Genesis days, man. That was the good shit.
Yeah, but one is AAA, launched 4 months ago. You would think that this would be an absolute steal. Right? You're getting a AAA Dragon Age title just given to you because you're a PS Plus subscriber. And the fact that most of the PS Plus people just went, that's all right. Someone actually, this was actually funny. Someone commented on my video covering this and they said, I don't want my PlayStation to identify as a PC, so I didn't get it.
What the fuck? I don't even understand. Why would the PlayStation identify as a PC?
I guess because Tash is confused, and so he doesn't want his PlayStation to be confused. So I don't know. That was just that just made me laugh quite a bit. But yeah, fundamentally, Dragon Age the Veilguard, they can't even give it away for free, bro. Like, no one wants this game. And the point that I made in my video,
I think that it's like if you're getting it for free as PlayStation Plus, I think you can have some fun with the game's combat system. I think that's fun. I don't think the story is going to be great, but the combat system I still enjoyed playing around with. Lots of build experimentation and shit.
I think where it ultimately boils down to is the game isn't wow enough in any of its factors for someone to go, I'll take a break from Monster Hunter Wilds to go play this.
I mean, right? If you're playing Monster Hunter Wilds, there's literally no reason to touch this thing.
The fundamental point is, if combat is what you're after, there's plenty of games that do combat a hell of a lot better.
So wait. What you're saying that the website that you're saying tracks is trophy activity. So there's a high chance, because the way that you would usually do PlayStation Plus, that people just add the game to their library and they might pick it up later. So you might see an uptick later when there's like nothing coming out or something. Then there might be an uptick.
But there is a sort of at least a correlation, kind of. Whenever games are added to the PS Plus, like big titles, they tend to break into the top 10, at least for the first week, before they sort of taper off and go back down. That would be
top 10 for like sales or something like that. It wouldn't be top 10 for trophies like you were talking about, that you were monitoring.
Well,
trophies.
no. This is what this is at least what the articles suggest. The articles say usually when a game gets added to the PS Plus, you'll see it pop into the top 10 for trophies, like just for a week or so, and then might taper off, whereas this didn't do it, right? And we're talking big titles here. So we're not talking about, because I know PS Plus has like a bunch of games that they give you for free. So obviously there's games that you're going to get for free where it's like a smaller AA. You go, I'll play it maybe one time. I'm not going to play it now.
PS Plus has like a tiering system now, kind of like Xbox Live or whatever. And so what happens is the lowest tier is just multiplayer. And then you get the 2 free games that they give you every month. So every month you get like 2 free games, I think. Because I used to religiously subscribe to that. I even have like a show that I would do on my channel where I would be like, okay, guys, this month these are the 2 games and blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, the way that I would always do it when I had the PlayStation Plus thing is like whenever the PlayStation Plus would get updated, I would go and I would just add to library. And I would never even play the games. I just be like, I just have them there now whenever I want to play them.
Oh yeah, so people do this with Epic Games as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
People do this with Epic Games whenever they do free games. But at least from the articles that I've read, now I am fully prepared to admit I am not an expert on PlayStation and how people play on PlayStation. I've owned a PlayStation 4. I've only ever played a game on it for about half an hour before I got so fed up with the controls that I bought God of War on PC so that I could play it there, because screw controllers. But fundamentally, at least the articles that I've read. So here I am sort of appealing to authority because I have no authority in this space. The articles suggest that this is quite unique. This is not something that you would expect from a major AAA title that people are really looking forward to.
To bust a little bit in there, but
imagine if Elden Ring went to PS Plus, it would probably go apeshit, right? It would go apeshit. It would probably start to challenge Fortnite and shit at that point, with how many people would immediately jump in to play Elden Ring. So it does suggest that it didn't manage to. It became one of those games where, if I'm bored, maybe I'll do it. Yeah. I have so many Steam games that's literally that. Every single time there's a Steam sale, I buy these bullshit games that I will likely never play, but it was $5, so I need to have it. So it's sort of the same thing. It has become. I have a game here called Bad Rats. I don't even know what it's about. But it was $2 on a Steam sale.
You bought Bad Rats? They used to be like a meme. People would gift you Bad Rats just to tell you have Bad Rats on your fucking Steam thing now.
It was $2.
Somebody did that to me. I hid it. I hid it so that I don't have Bad Rats on my Steam. I hid it away.
I've never installed it. I have no idea what it's about.
It's pretty bad.
It was $2, and I thought, screw it. I have like 15 games in this cart already. May as well add this. Maybe I'll try it. I don't think I will. I've never installed it. It just sits there.
That's a good thing.
But fundamentally, it is just sort of that's what the game has become. And my hope is that this is the moment that AAA sort of wakes up and realizes we need to stop. We need to stop turning.
I figured that you would be against AAA waking up. They've been woke this whole time, according to you.
Well, being woke these days is being asleep at the wheel. But yeah, I mean, or maybe just go to sleep or whatever. But it is now clear, I believe, that gamers really are sick and tired of modern day politics being forced into video games. We just want games, you know? Like I made this video during the week where I basically said exactly this. You can be as representative as you want in video games. You can have all the representation you want. As long as it makes sense for the game. As long as it serves the game, no one gives a shit. No one cares. This is why you have games like Baldur's Gate 3 that did so well. Because their focus wasn't on trying to be modern day political. Their focus was just making a good video game. They just wanted to make a good game. And it all works. It all fits. No one is angry about any of the characters in that game because every character makes sense for the world. We need to get back to that. And writing shit like Tash into a video game in that way is just so obviously inserting modern day politics into the conversation. There are ways that you could make a non-binary character make sense in a game. Tash is not it. That's not how you do it. If you wanted to find a way, that's the opposite of how you do it. You don't do it that way. So hopefully this sort of penetrates and finally people wake up. And I want to say this because I feel like there's a lot of people that like to, or that sort of think that there is something that I want. So a lot of people think because I reject left-wing politics in video games, I somehow want right-wing politics in video games. Now, I am firmly on the record. I am a conservative. I believe in conservative politics in the real world. I don't want it anywhere near my games. I want games to just be games. That's it. I don't want right-wing politics. I don't want left-wing politics. I just want games to be games. That's it. That's genuinely it. So I'm not coming at this from I can't wait for them to start adding games that preach capitalism and responsible citizenship. Like, I don't give a shit about that. Make any game you want. As long as it's a game that the creative people at the studio wanted to make, and it wasn't just sort of trying to figure out how do we get all of these left-wing politic talking points into our video game. That's it. That's genuinely all I care about. And I think that should be reasonable. Am I being unreasonable with that request, Rurkon?
No, I don't think that's unreasonable. Just like, it's fine to put politics in video games so long as it's not preaching. Let's put it like that. I think that makes sense. Don't preach to people. And then, because you have plenty of games with politics, like Metal Gear Solid, so on and so forth. There's plenty more.
I just started playing Death Stranding 1 again for people on stream.
Oh, yeah.
That game is so full of politics. It is
absolutely
insane.
Yeah. And so it's
the difference is it's never preaching. It's just there's politics. And
nobody likes being preached to. That's it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do what you want. Just don't be a dick, I guess is the point. But anyway, so on to actual new games that's coming out after we've spent an hour and 20 minutes talking about architecture and RTX and markets and how the markets are failing us and Dragon Age the Veilguard. And now we can get to proper conversation. Rurkon, did you play Space Marine 2?
I finished Space Marine 2. I played multiplayer. I haven't touched it in a hot minute, but I love that game. That game is so friggin' good. I played as was it the Vanguard, the guy with the sword and shield? I played the guy with the sword and shield. Friggin' power sword.
Oh, nice.
Hacking and slashing away like a maniac. Bro, I loved it. And I love the customization that you had on your friggin' Space Marines. You had all the chapters and shit. I was playing a Blood Angel in multiplayer. Bro, beautiful. Absolute cinema, that game.
I've not finished it.
Can't believe you would do this.
If you know me, you'll know.
You're not a real gamer. That's why.
Yeah, true. I'm not a real gamer. I get bored with games very quickly. So I'll get a game, I'll love it, and then I'll get bored. Or I'm just not in the right mindset. For example, I've genuinely wanted to play Monster Hunter Wilds. At the moment, I'm not in the mood for Monster Hunter Wilds.
Can't believe you.
Like my game mood is just not Monster Hunter Wilds at the moment.
Fake gamer.
Instead, what I'm playing is a game called what's it called again? I never even pay attention. Big Ambitions. Big Ambitions. It's a small indie game. It's called Big Ambitions. You build a business empire. That's literally it. You just make businesses and then you market them and hope they make money. That's it. That's what I'm no-lifing at the moment. Big Ambitions. So yeah, this is sort of this is where my mindset is at the moment. This is what I'm trying to play at the moment because I enjoy that. I'll eventually get my sort of thing for Space Marine 2 and then I'll finish it. But it has to come, right? I have to get that sort of urge. I want to play this type of game now. What I have played of it, I will say, what a game, right? I've played like the first 4 missions of the game.
Yeah.
I've played the first 4 missions of the game. The setting, the immersion, you genuinely feel like a Space Marine in that game. You feel the intensity of that game. It is so good. Now they've announced that there is a third one coming.
So this was announced that Saber Interactive is going to be working on it, which are the same people that worked on Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 is absolutely phenomenal. And one of the things that I'm hoping is that they get a bigger budget this time around, because obviously one of the things that you can kind of talk about when it comes to Space Marine 2 is that the campaign felt a little bit short. And, there is obviously still the multiplayer content, which is repeatable multiple times, which I engaged in with a bunch of friends, and it's a ton of fun. But I'm hoping that they get to up the scope a little bit. Like, that's all I really want. And it's like, for a lot of people, I already know what this is going to be like. They're going to start going like, oh, it needs to be open world. And I don't want none of that, okay? I want a campaign where I go and I kill a bunch of things. I hope that this time I get to kill orcs. That would be cool. Something that I would love to see is these guys. I'd love to see some friggin' leagues of Votann show up. But, that's probably not going to be the case.
Just to be fair, the orcs was number 1.
I know, but right? I want to fight them again. Because I love the way that they portrayed orcs. Like killing orcs. And this was not... Funny, This was not Saber Interactive. It was another company who did the first one, I'm pretty sure. But it's like the way that they portrayed orcs, it's always stuck in my mind when the orc goes, Space Marines! And I was like, that's fucking brilliant, bro. The fucking Cockney accent on orcs, it works so good. Space Marines, come here, Space Marine. It's just like so fucking good. I loved it. I loved cleaving orcs in half, bro. It was brutally satisfying.
I will say, I'm super happy that they're sticking with the original guys, right? Like the guys that made 2, not the original ones from 1. I'm glad that they're sticking with Saber Interactive. Saber Interactive have showed that they can do this. Like, absolutely. They know what the Warhammer community wants. They know exactly how to make the game feel like Warhammer when you're shooting one of those bolters.
The ambience of that game is so good. It's incredibly immersive. Yeah, it's really, really good. I loved it.
Yeah, the scale is amazing. Just walking through this place and you see these massive, and you're like, what is this? To those people that are saying they want open world, I think one of the things that sells this game is the mission sentiment of it, and remembering the fact that Space Marines aren't free to do whatever the hell they want. They are soldiers.
Yep.
They get dropped onto a planet to achieve a mission.
Well,
and that's all they do.
You want to know what would be cool is if this is probably not going to happen because we're still going to play as Titus. I think they even show Titus's face in the reveal, right? It's Titus. But one thing that I feel would be really cool is if you are following Titus rather than being Titus, and you could make your own Space Marine, and potentially it could even be like an alliance with some of the other chapters or something. I don't know. It's just like, I want to see more than Ultramarines is where I'm at, right? Because like we've seen Ultramarines twice. Ultramarines real cool, and this time around, he actually starts in a different the what's it called? The death The one that he starts at, which he doesn't start as an Ultramarine.
The Death Guard.
The Death Guard, yeah, he starts as Death Guard, and I was like, that's pretty cool. It's like, I want to see more of the other chapters rather than just Ultramarines. Probably not going to be the case, but it's just where my mind.
Sadly, it is, or not sadly. I like the Ultramarines. I'm a huge
Ultramarines are
Gilliman
cool.
fan.
Sure,
right. So from my perspective, Titus is amazing, and I think they did sort of make Titus. Now a canonical character, so technically they could do what you just said.
Oh yeah,
he is now a character with his own personality and his own stuff, right?
I think you can actually buy a miniature of Titus to use in the Warhammer tabletop game.
Yeah. From what I understand, Titus is canonized, so he is a proper canonized character now in Warhammer 40K.
Which means that people will use his model, but no one will actually use the heroes. That's because nobody plays heroes.
No. But here's the very interesting thing: if you really want to, and I'm not saying Space Marine 3 needs to be that, but if Warhammer wanted to print money, they copy Helldivers 2. Warhammer.
The type of mission structure that you have.
The entire galaxy fighting all for the enemies of the Imperium.
For the multiplayer.
Yeah. For the multiplayer, you do that.
Oh my god,
dude.
What if for the multiplayer you could actually play as one of the other factions?
Yeah, for the multiplayer, you can play as any of the factions, and you have different missions.
Not a chapter, though. A faction. Yeah, like orcs and oh my god. It can't be all of them. It can't be all of them. It has to be limited. And Leagues of Votann needs to be included. 100%.
So the reason you could technically do all
I'm gonna be
is you can do an entire sector of the galaxy that is under attack. So you could play an orc. And as an orc, you're sent to go fight Tyranids. You're sent to go fight the Imperium of Man. You're sent to go fight the Necrons. They're all in there fighting for the sector of the galaxy. And sometimes the human players win. Sometimes, and you could even have full-blown PvP.
That would be badass.
So, I think that game would go hard. I think Warhammer players would play the shit out of that game.
I think we're setting our expectations just a teensy-wincy, a little bit, just a smidge too high.
But that would be good, though.
That would
be banging. The other game that has been rumored is Dawn of War 4. Now, Dawn of War 1 and 2 were phenomenal RTS games. Dawn of War 1 actually might be one of the best RTS games I've ever played.
I really like it.
In terms of story, it was so good. Dawn of War 2, I never played, but I saw some gameplay of it. Still apparently really good. By Dawn of War 3, they completely let go of the RTS thing. It became sort of like a Euro bullshit game, and most players rejected it. Most players didn't want it because it wasn't the RTS. Hopefully, Dawn of War 4 returns to the RTS structure.
There's something about RTSs that it just seems like companies don't like fucking with it. Like you see Blizzard having one of the best RTSs ever, and then they just fucking let it rot for some strange fucked up reason. I don't understand.
So I'll just say what. So I don't have express information on this, but we do have a lot of information about how AAA studios approach video games. And when you use that information, that is absolutely confirmed because they say it themselves, you can understand why RTS is such a failed thing in AAA. Most AAA companies look for billion-dollar industries. They want a game that can become an esport, that can become a billion-dollar industry. So any game that can't be the next Elden Ring or the next, Call of Duty, the next game that brings in billions per quarter, is just not a game that they're going to screw with. And RTS, sadly, is a game genre where it's very difficult. On the esports side, outside of the beginnings of esport where StarCraft was literally it's largely no longer a thing. No one really watches RTS esports. So you're not going to make an RTS esport.
They watch MOBAs now. That's pretty much it.
League of Legends, Dota, Fortnite, those games, and obviously shooter games, right? Shooter
Battle
esports
Royale.
are super big. Yeah.
MOBAs and Battle Royales, RTS that's the scene.
Doesn't have that draw for AAA. And also it tends to be very niche. There's some people that love RTS, myself included, but there's a lot of gamers that do not screw with it because RTS is oftentimes not relaxing. It's not a relaxing storytelling experience. There's a lot of thinking involved. There's a lot of puzzles that you're solving while playing an RTS game. And for a lot of players, they just don't want to screw with that. They don't want to engage in that.
I say this, I haven't really engaged with RTSs in quite some time. I think the last time it was like one of the Total War games, which those are pretty fun. But yeah.
I mean, you just mentioned Total War. Warhammer is ramping up, bro. Like these guys are ramping up. Games Workshop has now Space Marine 3 in the works, potentially Dawn of War 4 in the works. We know about the Total War game that was supposed to be Total War World War 1 that was cancelled, and they then turned that into Total War Warhammer 40K. That is coming. It's going to be their biggest Total War. Yeah,
it's just when it comes to Warhammer, after having played fantasy battles, I have a hard time thinking about it as a video game, you know, because like it was so much fun when I was looking my opponent in the eye and we're just like, you know, making fun of each other as we fuck up on dice rolls and we're just like, fucking worthless. It's kind of like same thing happened recently in the kill team thing. Like a friend of mine goes up to one of my dwarfs with a fucking melt-a-gun and he's just like fires 3 rounds, misses terribly, and I'm just like, you fucking dude can't shoot, fucking sucks. It's just such a different interaction than playing an RTS.
Obviously,
I don't know. I just start thinking about that. But
yeah. But I think, and you have Henry Cavill that is running the cinematic universe for Games Workshop Warhammer.
Have we seen anything about that?
We know he's busy. We know he's busy.
Let's hope.
What he's doing and where they're up to, we don't know.
What about those Astartes cinematics? There's been another one that came out. I don't think I've watched it yet. Astartes 2 or whatever it was. That's probably pretty good because I remember seeing. I think it was. One.
Wasn't it teased? It's not launched yet. It was teased, as far as I know.
Oh, then I don't know. I haven't kept up with that. I want something like that, but for the Leagues of Votann, man. Space dwarves, bro. Come on. Get it together.
But I think it was teased. I might be wrong. Someone can let me know in the comment section down below.
It's time
and if I am wrong, why have I not watched it?
You're going to be watching it today on stream, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Like 100%. Going to be watching that shit. But yeah, I think it's a great time for Warhammer fans, but also for people who aren't fans of Warhammer to get into Warhammer, to learn what it's about. This is especially where I think the Total War series is a good series to get into it. Because it's going to introduce you to all of the different factions that you have, or at least some of them, and how the battles work and play out. So, you know.
I'm very hesitant to recommend the tabletop because of how badly Games Workshop screwed me over. But, you know, I have to admit that it is pretty fun. But
if you're going to get into tabletop, you have to accept one thing.
They're going to screw. No, it's not even about it being expensive, because being expensive I can deal with. That is a choice. Like everybody has a choice on how they spend their money. What bothers me is their wishy-washiness about how the rules are going to be and how armies are expected to be formed. And it's like, fuck you for dicking me over after spending hundreds of euros on a fucking dwarven army. And you're just like, can't play that one anymore. Like, you think this is a fucking joke? Fuck you.
The reason I say be careful, because it is going to be expensive. Once you're into it, you're going to fall in love with it, guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're going to find reasons for why you need to keep buying this shit. And they keep changing it so that you keep buying shit.
Oh, absolutely.
They're very, very sort of weird about that. And you can't really reject it because the friends that you play with might not care. And so they'll upgrade and you can't not upgrade because the rule sets have changed. And so it can become a very expensive hobby very, very quickly. But it is a good hobby. I got into buying the books hobby, and that shit is very pricey. And I'm not even close to the full library of is it? Almost 700 books in the Warhammer series.
I was watching a video yesterday about the lore of Leagues of Votann. It's like a 1 hour long video talking about the lore of the Leagues of Votann. I was
whose video was it?
I forget. I don't know who the creator was. Otherwise, I'd shout them out. But I forget. It's this guy who does lore videos. I don't know. But like,
I want to remember what's his name.
There's this story where so the dwarves, they're very protective of these Votan, which the Votan are basically an AI entity that has stored friggin' all the information about the space dwarves for generate thousands of years, right? And it was never designed to hold the information for that long, so they tend to go a little bit cuckoo. So it's like crazy fucking AIs, right? But they're super protective of them. And there's this one point where there's this League of Votan that's in the path of a Tyrannid squad. And the Tyrannids, they're going to go in and they're going to go attack them. And the dwarves are like, we have to protect the Votan. They died. Oh, yeah? They all died. To the last dwarf. They all fucking died defending the Votan. Okay? And so what happens is, as they die, they feed the corpses of these dead dwarfs back into the machine because it absorbs all the knowledge. So to them, this is like coming home. They're coming home to the ancestors, right? And so so many of them died and so many of them got fed to the AI that the AI went completely fucking batshit crazy. So it's like now it's just a rogue AI crazy. But there's no dwarves. And the thing is, they died protecting this Votan, but when the Tyranids were done killing all the dwarves, they just harvested whatever resources they wanted and they left. They didn't even touch the AI. They didn't even care.
I think what you're talking about is Wastehammer's video. Leagues of Votan deep dive.
Is it like over Spaceman? 1 hour? Yeah, that's the
1 hour. Yeah, Wastehammer. It's either Wastehammer or Luton or Major Kill. Those are Sandman is also another one that's really, really good. But if you guys wanted some introductory lore into Warhammer 40k, Wastehammer and Luton are probably your best base for that.
It's because like whenever you're getting into it, it's like you just want to get fully immersed into it. And so that's why, because I'm playing the Hernkin Jaegers and they're part of the Leagues of Votan. I'm probably going to buy the Earthkin Salvagers as well, which is the other kill team that you can get from Leagues of Votan. So I'm going to have the 2 Space Dwarf teams. That's what I'm going to be playing.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm not going to be playing dwarfs. I would play Ultramarines first, and only because that gets me to kill the dwarfs, which is pretty much all I don't care about.
What would be the faction for the Ultramarines on Kill Team? That's interesting.
No idea.
I'll look it up.
But okay, so from Warhammer News, which obviously great news for the gaming industry, there is so much that you can do in Warhammer, and I'm so much looking forward to what Saber Interactive does because they took Space Marine 2 to a whole new level. Hopefully they can do the same with Space Marine 3, especially considering it seems at least as if Games Workshop trusts Saber Interactive. So they're probably going to give them a lot more freedom to do what they need to do. Yeah?
It's the Angels of Death. That's the faction for what you could play as Ultramarines. I think you can do whatever Space Marine thing you want, but it's the Angels of Death. That's
nice.
It's broken overpowered to those motherfuckers because they get to shoot twice. Because usually whenever you are playing Kill Team, your guys get to shoot once. Not fucking Space Marines are like, no, we shoot twice. Fuck you. They also have the most wounds out of it. Like my dwarves have 8 wounds. Space Marines have 13. It's like, what the fuck? And they have big bulky armor. They save at I don't know if they save at 3 or 4 or whatever or 2. It's fucking crazy, bro. Yeah, they save at 3+. Look at this. The fucking sergeant has 15 wounds. Fuck you.
Wow.
It's almost twice the wounds of a dwarf. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but dwarves are small. You need to kill them fast. You win because it's more difficult to hit you. Smaller target.
Seems reasonable.
But no, I mean, it's nice to see Games Workshop finally embrace the potential that is Warhammer 40k, and hopefully they can go from strength to strength. And Saber, I'm with you there. I hope they give Saber a lot more money to really make this game pop, because it deserves it. And I want to see more Warhammer games, so why not? From massive W's to massive L's.
So
Squenix just had their earnings call. Square Enix, for those of you that might not be up with the lingo
of
the gaming industry.
I'm sure it was good news.
Well, for some games, sure. For Life is Strange Double Exposure, not so much. As it turns out, Double Exposure has lost them a lot of money. As in, they didn't come anywhere close to even turning a profit.
So I think one of the problems with Life is Strange is, like, I think Life is Strange is fine. It has a target audience. The thing is, it's not a massive audience. So when it comes to a title like that, it's all about managing the budget. So you can't just like pour millions and millions into a game like Life is Strange and expect to have that return when what that game has is a niche audience. Like, for instance, I don't play games like Life is Strange, and there's nothing wrong with people that like playing those more visual novel type of games. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's not really my speed, and I think that it doesn't have the major appeal of other games. So it's all about managing your budget when it comes to that. Or I don't know, maybe Double Exposure wasn't that great because, again, I don't play them, so I don't know.
Well, you look at Don't Nod, who are the creators of Life is Strange and the series thereof. They start off quite a while ago, over a decade ago, and they're a pretty good company. They're a company that makes good games. Life is Strange 1 was a really well-received game. Then you see them lose a lot of money. Up until this day, they have lost about 95% of their overall value. And it is basically just down every single year. Then I sort of did the research for this, going onto forums, trying to figure out, what people say. And a lot of people stopped playing for what isn't political reasons necessarily, but definitely what they find is that the story of one was a lot more engaging. It was a lot more like what you would want from these visual novels. Because the whole point is you're playing this character, this teenager that's going through life, right? And life sort of...
It's a coming of age story.
The ups and downs of life. Yeah, it's like a coming of age story, kind of. But as the company kept growing, it definitely started adopting a lot more left-wing stuff. There's a lot of modern-day politics in Life is Strange. Now, I thought, and this is why I've never really made videos on Life is Strange, it's sort of like Dustborn. I made fun of the failure of Dustborn, but I'll never go after the developers of Dustborn, because they made a new IP specifically for the target audience that they wanted to capture. And from my perspective, if you want to make a game like that, you are welcome to do so. It's your money. Do with it as you please. I thought Life is Strange was the same. Right? This is a game made for a specific audience, and that audience wants this stuff. But as it turns out, going on the forums, a lot of people do claim that the stories have become very bland, very sort of one-dimensional, and to some extent a bit preachy. It doesn't feel as organic as the first one it necessarily did. I've seen some cutscenes of the game where one specific cutscene is this guy that's actually like a white extremist, and he realizes that being a white extremist isn't a good thing. But the whole way he realizes it is so obviously fake, and it's just like, what the hell is happening here? Like, I don't know what this is. But again, I didn't make videos on this because I didn't think it was important. I'm not going to go after communities and the games that they love, right? It would be like me going and starting to make hate videos on Monster Hunter Wilds because I think people shouldn't like killing monsters. Why would you do that? This is a game made for people who want to kill monsters. There's nothing wrong with that.
We're preserving the balance of nature, okay?
Yeah, by killing everything.
Those monsters are going out of control and causing all kinds of problems, so it is important for us to kill them and turn them into funny hats. Okay?
Oh, yeah. And you do, by the way, you see this. You see the progression of politics and how the games just start selling less and less and less, which is sort of what I've been talking about and why I've been warning about this since the beginning. When your goal becomes political activism, creativity suffers. Because you end up having to focus way too much on bullshit that doesn't matter. Things that people aren't going to find enticing. So I have a feeling that Don't Nod, they're probably on the way out. The game that they now have coming which is another coming-of-age story about a girl who discovers her sexuality along with her 3 female friends. She's a teenager in the 80s, and she's a lesbian, and everyone calls her a dyke and whatnot, and all the rest of it. And that's the story, right? That's the whole story. That's the whole thing. And you look at it and you go, man, really, how can this be the aim of this game? How can that be the aim?
It's like, look,
if that game fails as well.
If there's an audience for that game, that's perfectly fine. If that's what they want to do, it is what it is.
No, like I said, I don't mind if there is an audience for it, but it doesn't seem like there is, because the Life is Strange games, the more political it became, the less it sold. Right? So this game goes full-blown politics. You kind of start going, okay,
I don't know,
this is a problem.
I don't know if you can say that Life is Strange Double Exposure is full-blown politics, because I haven't played it. So I don't know. I'm not going to play it because it's not my kind of game. It's just,
no, obviously
you also say that Dragon Age Veilguard is full on politics, which I disagree with. So,
well,
that's the thing.
I've said it failed because of DI and politics. I never said that it's full blown politics.
Okay.
And I've made this argument to you before, and you've accepted the argument.
No, let's not rehash it.
But you have accepted the argument at the time, so you can't now go, well, I don't accept the argument.
No. I'm just saying, I disagree.
Right?
I disagree with the part that, okay, not you, but a lot of people say that the whole game is politics. It's like, no, it's like a small portion of it is politics, and it's bad.
No, I have never said that the whole game is political.
Okay.
I've never said that.
Let's not get stuck on Dragon Age. But that's what I'm pointing out, right? I'd have to play it to understand what the situation is, and I'm not going to do that. I don't have the time.
Well, as I started at the beginning, I just went on forums and I sort of read through people who say they're no longer playing the game, why they don't want to play the game, and the sort of idea
it wouldn't surprise me.
Was just they find the game bland and boring. And then some people in the comment section were like, the game went way too political. This isn't fun. So you just sort of go, okay, so clearly there's a theme. Is that the whole reason? Probably not, right? Because most people don't actually post on forums why they're not playing games or why they don't buy games. But at least from what I've been able to find, that appears to be some of the reason.
So Life is Strange lost Squenix a bunch of money. You said there were some winners. What were the winners in Squenix?
Oh, man. No, I can't remember. It's not games that I play.
Because I've also heard that Yoshi P is no longer in the board of directors for Squenix.
Yeah. He's. I don't know why he's out though. I've not been able. I just know he's no longer part of the board of directors. He's still working on the game, Final Fantasy 14 and whatever else they're doing next. But yeah, he's no longer part of the board of directors, which is strange because Yoshi P is sort of like the best known name in Squenix. I mean, everyone thinks of Squenix. They kind of think of Yoshi P.
No, I think that probably Nomura might be more well known, I would imagine. No?
He's not the people I speak to, but it could be.
Yeah, because
everyone's going to have a different approach.
You're in the MMO sphere, but I would say that Yoshi P, Nomura are probably like the two big ones.
Yeah. It could be something silly, right? It could literally just be something, being on the board of directors have taken too much time away from him making games, and he wants to make games more than he wants to be on the board of directors.
I certainly hope he gets to work on fixing Final Fantasy 14, because Dawn Trail was not it.
I mean, maybe that could be why he stepped down. He had to spend so much time being on the board of directors that something slipped up with the Dawn Trail stuff. And I would also like to point out, I would not be surprised if part of the reason Dawn Trail didn't land as good as it was just because of how divided he was. Because remember, while working on Dawn Trail, he was also working on Base and working on 16. So that's 3 games plus being a director that you have to juggle. Something was going to pay the price. Was going to pay the price. And everyone I've spoken to about Dawn Trail have said, the best I've heard was, it's not bad, but it's nowhere close to what was good and what should be good.
It's not bad. It's like, the best things I've heard about Dawn Trail is like, hey, the content's actually pretty good. All right.
Yeah, basically, I've heard people say it's not bad, but it's not as good as what you expect from a Final Fantasy 14 title.
The story, in my opinion, is bad. I'll say it. The story of Dawn Trail is bad. It's a bad story.
Yeah.
And I didn't even get to finish it. That's the worst part. Because I physically couldn't do it after the Disney musical act. I was like, nah, you lost me at the Disney musical act.
There's a Disney musical act?
I think I've told you this already. Yes, there's I think at around the halfway point
of the campaign. I blocked it out just because I don't want to be traumatized.
Yeah, there's a straight up Disney musical act midway through the story, and you're just like, bro, what? This is not the game I fell in love with. The game I fell in love with has death and tragedy and like all of these really cool but also fucked up things that happen. This is the game I fell in love with, not the fucking Disney musical bullshit. Okay, let's go on a whimsy adventure and yay. It's like, no.
Yeah, that does seem very awkward.
Yeah,
it does seem super awkward. But yeah, I don't remember which games made some money, but it wasn't a good earnings call. Let's just put it that way. It's not like Squenix were dancing and going, this is the greatest earnings quarter we've ever had in the history of ever. Which literally these days in the gaming industry isn't a surprise. Almost every studio suffers from this. We should probably just very quickly mention, we don't even have it on the list here, but I would like to talk just for 2 seconds about Death Stranding 2. And the cinematic that came out.
Oh,
Did you not see the cinematic? No. Bro.
I mean, it's Kojima stuff. It's not going to be related to the story at all. It's not going to make any sense. It's just a mind fuck. Kojima just likes to fuck with your mind. Okay.
It is mind bending as
I'm shocked and appalled.
But Metal Gear Solid, the clone of Snake is in the game.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
A Snake clone is in the game?
Because remember, Death Stranding takes place in America. It's America.
Oh, God.
Now, the clone of Solid Snake, at least people have told me it's the clone. I have not played Metal Gear Solid 5 and even 4. I played 1, 2, and I don't even think I played 3. I played 1 and 2. Because I didn't have a PlayStation. I've never played games on PlayStation, so a lot of the games I just never really picked up. But people have said, and he looks like Solid Snake. For most of it, you don't know who this is. And then he puts on the bandana. He puts on that headband, and you go,
oh my God. If he's got the headband on top of it, that also means that he's directly going after Konami for doing the fucking remaster of Snake Eater, because I think that's the one that puts the bandana on. No, there's a bunch of different Solid Snakes. Listen, guys, I'm not a Metal Gear Solid lore buff. Okay, it's like I've played Metal Gear Solid 1, and I've played a little bit of 4, and I've played the entirety of 5, and I loved 5. I thought 5 was really fun.
I still need to play 5. That's the Phantom Menace one, right? Or Phantom something.
Phantom Menace. That's the
not
Star
Phantom
Wars.
Menace, but it's Phantom something.
Phantom Pain.
Yeah, Phantom Pain. That's the one. Phantom Menace, Phantom Pain, same thing. Or technically the same thing. It's Phantom. I still have to play it. It looks good. The graphics looks good. I'm really hyped for the remake that they're doing. I'm looking forward to the remake. But we don't know if he's going to be an ally, an enemy. He looks like he's hunting something, right? Him and his undercover agents are hunting something or someone. But it looks bigger, better, and more badass than the first one. And the first one was pretty badass. Did you ever play Death Stranding?
Yeah, I played it through the completion. I was one of the few people that when I reviewed it, I said it was good. I had a bravery to get out there and say, no, I think the game is good. And a lot of people gave me shit over it. I was eating shit sandwiches for months over my opinion on that game. And then turns out a couple of years roll by and everybody's like, you know what? That Stranding's actually not that bad. And we're gonna see comments on here that are gonna say, nah, man, game is ass. And it's like, It depends on what you like, because the thing that I also said in my review, this game is not for everybody. Not everybody is going to get it, but there's a lot of really cool themes to Death Stranding, and there's a lot of really cool gameplay moments to Death Stranding. It's just the thing is everybody was expecting Metal Gear Solid 6, and they didn't fucking get it, despite the fact that Kojima always said, this ain't no fucking Metal Gear Solid, bruh. It ain't no Metal Gear Solid, but people still
I will also say, I think a lot of people, they go into the game and they judge the game very, very quickly.
Oh yeah.
I said this during the week on live stream. What makes Death Stranding amazing is it takes all of the rules for pacing in a video game and it ignores all of it.
Yep.
Who cares about pacing? We're going to have a slow start where you genuinely think this is just a walking simulator because all I'm doing is walking everywhere. And then eventually it's going to click when I'm not just walking everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And when that clicks, you go, oh.
You're actually forming connections in so many different ways in the game. But yeah, a lot of people don't get that. And this is actually part of a larger discussion, which is nowadays specifically, I feel that too many people place way too much value in quality of life in video games. And when I mean quality of life is like certain features, like people are so incredibly averse to friction that the moment the game pushes back on you just a little bit, they're like, artificial difficulty, bloated HP, can't have that. And it's like, no. Not every single thing in a video game when there's a little bit of friction is a mistake. People just want games to like roll over and play dead. And it's like, no. I fundamentally disagree. The reason why Death Stranding feels like shit in the beginning, it's meant to feel like shit because it's going to feel way better later on. That's just part of the design.
Vehicles, better construction shit.
People forget.
It makes you love the technological advancement as you go through the game. Once you get like your bike, it's like, I have a bike? Holy shit. And then you have fun with the bike. And then you realize, oh man, there's some things I can't really do with this bike. And then you get the next sort of vehicle, or sometimes not even a vehicle. Sometimes it's an unlock of a thing that you can build that suddenly changes the entire game for you. And you're like, oh.
But that's the thing. People forget that you can't just start from the top. A lot of people nowadays have no patience whatsoever to engage in video games. And I even get this a lot in Monster Hunter whenever I suggest things that I'm like, I don't think this should be as convenient as it is. And people are like, fucking boomer, blah, blah. I want my hunting action fast. I got zoom, zoom, zoom. And it's like, no, bro. It's like, you don't, if you start at 100, you don't even feel the speed. You need to start at neutral and then build up to 100, because otherwise you don't even feel the progression. And that's a huge problem in games nowadays. It's like everybody's just like, zoom, 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 gotta fucking go, go, go. Got 50 other games to go play, brother. I ain't got no time for this shit. This monster took too long to fucking die. Gotta go fast. Zoom, zoom, zoom. And it's like, no, dude, fucking slow down. The pacing of Death Stranding is actually really good. Like, a lot of people are not going to like it. Guess what? That's too fucking bad. It's not for you. Like, I'm sorry. It is what it is.
It's the wrong pacing, technically. 100%. It's doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
But for what the game is, it's the perfect pacing.
It's like, let me tell you
the game wouldn't work any other way.
Let me tell you something. And this is something that makes me really sad to say. It makes me sad, but 80% of the gaming community would not have the patience required to learn how to play Kill Team.
Oh, no, of course not. But
they would not have the patience required.
So this doesn't make a lot of sense if we're just talking about video games. But if we break it down to what actually happens while we play video games, not only does the conversation get exponentially more boring, but it also gets exponentially more clear. So what happens when you play a video game? Take away all of the bells and the whistles, the graphics and everything else. There is a problem. Then there is a solution found to the problem. And what happens in your brain when this happens is there is a release of hormones. These hormones make you feel good. They make you feel sad, depending on the problem, the solution, and how you overcame it. When you kill a boss in Elden Ring, the feeling that you feel that, oh man, that's just hormones being released. Now, the reason in a game like Elden Ring, the hormone release is massive is because of the struggle that it was to get that hormone release. When hormones are delayed, their payoff is a hell of a lot higher. Now, what people want is they want that high all the time.
Without the
I want to
low.
feel this good all the time.
Yeah.
The issue with that is it's physically impossible because biologically...
You need the contrast. Yeah.
If you have a problem with this, you need to take it up with God. That's how he made you.
Yeah.
Biologically, your brain starts to become resistant to the hormone if the hormone levels are too high for too long. Physically, the receptors start going, we just don't want anymore. Thank you. And then it doesn't matter how much of the hormone is released. Your brain, your receptors are physically not taking it. So you won't feel anything. So you have to have the low, so the brain sort of relaxes, so that it can get the high, so that it will accept the hormones that's being input into the brain at that specific period in time.
And this is even something that we can bring up in regards to Monster Hunter, because it's a big discussion that I've seen being had with the community, and it really upsets me. And that is that people will play the game, and they will be in the game has 3 seasons for every map in the game. The seasons are Fallow, Inclemency, and Plenty. Fallow is kind of like Autumn, except everything is kind of bland and not too contrasty. It just kind of doesn't look particularly good. Then Inclemency is usually something bad is happening. So in the case of the desert map, there's the lightning strikes and all this bullshit. It's a big storm, fucking foggy, sand everywhere, all of that, right? And in the forest, it's just it's raining. It's raining the whole time, right? It's a downpour. And so you have these two phases, which is okay, one, not that colorful because it's fallow. The other one, crazy shit is happening in the map, still not that colorful. And then the third one is the Plenty, which is when the map just looks drop dead gorgeous. It's oh, look at how pretty everything is. Everything is amazing. And everybody is just I just want to play in Plenty all the fucking time. And it's your brain won't recognize Plenty all the fucking time because it won't have anything to contrast it with. This isn't fucking Fortnite where everything's colorful all the fucking time. And it's so frustrating to have that discussion. People don't understand the reason why Plenty looks so good is because
the others don't look
others don't look good. So you need the fucking contrast, which is the same thing that you just mentioned about the reason why beating a boss in Elden Ring feels so good is because you struggled so much to beat it. And then there's the release of dopamine and whatever other hormones. Because I did it. I beat him. And it doesn't work if you don't struggle, which is, again, another problem that we have in Monster Hunter Wilds right now, which is the game is easy. Maybe a little bit too easy, depending on who you ask. This is why I've imposed a bunch of different challenges on myself to how to play it, which was way more fun to play because I had to struggle. But, now people are oh, yeah, it was great. But, they don't have as many fond memories. Yeah, because it was easier. It's
I think, so if players of Monster Hunter is here, and you want sort of a tale of warning, look at World of Warcraft. A game that used to be very difficult to get those payoffs, but once you got them, they were really significant, and the developers just completely caved. Nowadays, you log into World of Warcraft, and almost just for logging in, you get a prize. Right? As soon as you log in, they go, oh, good for you. You managed to click the button. Woo! Here's some lights and bullshit so you can get the dopamine hit. And what ends up happening is everything just sort of feels bland, boring, and bullshit. You go through the map, you get these massive loot drops that, don't mean shit because who cares about this next currency? There's currencies upon currencies because every currency has to have nice lights as you get it. You don't care about most of those currencies because they're just random shit that no one really cares about. And then at the end of the week, or at the beginning of the week, you have this vault that you can open that might give some dopamine hits. Who knows, right? And everything is just one dopamine rush after the other, trying to get players to feel good all the time. You have to feel good all the time. You have to constantly feel like you're winning at life. And the problem with that is, one of the reasons good times feel so good is because bad times feel so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need the good and the bad. The bad has to be there because the bad makes the good great. And this is something that you have to just accept. So when we're talking about games like Death Stranding, trust me, if you want to feel good times, play Death Stranding.
Yeah, because you're going to feel a lot of shitty times.
There are times where you're going to hate the movement. It tells you you're going to have to deliver something that's like 4 kilometers away.
When you damage a package, you're just like walking around.
It starts raining in the middle of the open. There's no caves anywhere. And you're like, dude, what is going on? Or you slip and your guy just falls and his packages in the water that damages even more. And you're like, dude, come on, what the hell is this game?
Yeah.
But then you unlock a technology. And suddenly everything becomes easier. And you're like, bro, what? This is so much better. And then what the game does is as you unlock newer technologies, it also ups the difficulty slightly. Not equal, so it doesn't stay as hard as it was before. But now you have to deliver stuff that's slightly further away or slightly more difficult terrain to get to. But you now have the tools. So when you really plan and think about it, you can make it as hard or easy for yourself depending on what you're doing. The problem with most people is they go, oh, I have to deliver this package 4 kilometers away. I'll just run. And then you go, do you know that you have a slide that you can build? Or maybe there's a vehicle that you have not seen yet that you might be able to use? Or maybe there's a bridge that you can build that significantly shortens the distance. Have you looked at all at your options, or did you just go, well, the marker says I go there,
I go here,
go marker go.
It's fucking open world mentality. It's the fucking Ubisoft virus that infected everyone. Where it's like, oh, there's a big marker on screen that shows me where I have to go. I'm so smart. I'm a smart boy. It's like, oh my god, bro, you wouldn't survive 2 fucking seconds in Elite Dangerous, brother. Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, it's a phenomenal game if you haven't played it yet, but you absolutely do have to. Speaking of phenomenal games, going back to bad games, this is one that I know you love. We have the shareholders now have also turned on Ubisoft.
Oh no! Won't somebody think of poor Yves Guillemot? Oh my god! Oh no! I'm telling you, bro, Tencent's going to pick him off the fucking bargain bin with some pocket change, all right? They have like 5 cents and a piece of lint to buy Ubisoft, bro. That's what they're pulling us. I guess we'll buy Ubisoft.
So from what I've been able to gather, it's 2 different shareholders basically trying to take Ubisoft to court or to task or to protest for 2 different reasons, but it all boils down to the same thing. Now, both of the investors are minority investors. They're not massive investors. But if they feel that way, there's a good chance that some of the others might share these opinions. And I think a lot of investors right now are just sort of keeping their mouth shut because they're hoping the Tencent deal goes through, which means big payday at the end of the day. Now, the first one that I saw, at least, I don't know if the timelines, which one comes first, but the first one I saw was yesterday, where one of the shareholders accused Ubisoft of very bad management and also apparently lying to investors about the state of the finances of the company.
Uh-oh. That's not good.
No. If that turns out to be true, Ubisoft, Mr. Guillemot, could go to jail. It is illegal to lie to investors about the financial state of the company.
Oh.
Yeah, you have a fiduciary responsibility, as they say. And you must be honest. So that could be very bad. The other one that I saw this morning...
It's so inconvenient to have to be honest. Why can't we just...
Why can't we just lie about everything?
Just lie!
Yeah, just white lies. Who cares?
Truth is such an inconvenience, bro. Like, stop. I don't want to say the truth.
But then the other one is from a studio that is accusing Ubisoft also of very bad management, Basically, they're suggesting that all of the financial woes of the company is purely and 100% on the back of bad management. The Guillemot family doesn't know how to manage. For those of you that don't know why this is super significant, this is the whole disagreement that Tencent and the Guillemot family have. Tencent wants to buy Ubisoft, but Tencent doesn't want the Guillemot family to have control of the company. They don't mind that the Guillemot family remains the CEOs of the company.
Why can't you say
they don't
Guillemot?
want the Guillemot family?
Why is this so
because
hard
I refuse to speak French bullshit.
Maybe the French will invade South Africa and force you to say it.
They're welcome. They're welcome to come. I don't even care, dude. South Africa can't be worse under French leadership. So who cares? You know, like anyone can come at this point and it'll be an improvement. But
I'm sorry, keep going.
No. So they don't mind that the Guillemot family remains sort of in charge as far as like, you know, running the day to day, but they want a much bigger piece of the pie in terms of sitting at the table, being able to make decisions. And obviously the Guillemot family doesn't want to give them that piece of the pie because the Guillemot family knows that if Tencent buys 40 or 45% of the company and they now have a seat on the board of directors, if they then go, listen here, boys, we want to vote, we want to get rid of the Guillemot guys, the other investors are going to go along because no one wants to have a company with 45% of interest just drop the company, right? So this has been their main fight. Now you have investors accusing the Guillemot family of not running the show correctly. This is putting a lot more sort of goodwill on the side of Tencent to not want the Guillemot family in control. And then we have the other accusation, which is actually probably also quite bad. Turns out Ubisoft has been in talks with EA, with Activision, Microsoft, basically every other AAA studio to sell IPs. Not sell the company, sell IPs. They're trying to offload some of their game IPs to some of these studios to try and get themselves out of the financial distress. Because remember, Ubisoft is desperate to sell to Tencent. Tencent is going, let's see what Assassin's Creed Shadows does before we commit to anything. Ubisoft is going, no. Don't worry about this game. Like, buy now.
Yeah. Just buy now.
Yeah. And Tencent is going, no, well, let's see what happens first.
Yeah, let's
now
see
Ubisoft
how you do.
yeah. Now Ubisoft is trying to sell IPs to other studios to try and get the cash so that it doesn't need the Tencent buyout. And they didn't disclose this to investors. They didn't tell investors that this is what they're doing.
That sounds like a little bit of illegality over there. It's not even just a lie. That doesn't sound very correct for you to not reveal to your investors what it is you are doing with their money.
Oh, yeah. So Ubisoft is just, at this point, I would be surprised if Ubisoft continues to exist after Assassin's Creed Shadows.
It's just a little bit of degeneracy. What's a little bit of degeneracy among friends?
Well, apparently, and this is the other problem, both of the investors they pissed off appears to be French investors. Those French people can protest like nobody's business, bro.
Oh, yeah.
French, they don't joke around, bro. They break shit down.
They know how to party.
Yeah.
They know how to party out there in France.
Yeah, exactly. So fundamentally, we're having fun here, guys, but I do think we're at a point now where there's no way for Assassin's Creed Shadows to save Ubisoft, even if it is a brilliant game, and even if it sells really well. The amount of money that Ubisoft needs in order to get out of trouble, no game has ever sold that many copies in a single cycle. Even for GTA, it wasn't until online really came online that it started to really push.
Assassin's Creed Shadow is going to do it. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
I highly doubt it needs to sell in terms of like real value over $1 billion in sales. That is ridiculous money.
No,
that is
easy.
ridiculous money. And anyone that wants to do the math on that, you cannot just go 60 times whatever or 70 times whatever, because they're not getting $70 for the game.
Wouldn't
they're
that
getting
be great?
whatever after all of the 30% from Steam.
Uncle Gaben needs
else.
his cut, and whoever's running Sony needs their cut. Phil Spencer needs his cut, and then whatever other platform they release on is going to need their cut too.
Yeah.
Okay?
So after all of that, they'll get whatever's left. And so you have to probably, if you get to, I would say a good way to do the math would be take 1 billion, divide it by 70, and then times it by 2. That would probably, it's a bit more than what they would actually need to sell, but that could give you a ballpark number of how much they would need to sell in order to actually get to $1 billion worth of sales. Or just take 2 billion and then divide it by 70 to see the amount of copies that needs to be sold. But fundamentally, the point is, no game has ever sold that many copies, at least not in the first month.
Assassin's Creed surely will.
It would be one hell of a drug and one hell of a kick in the. I mean, they would be able to sell that game for billions then, if they wanted to. It just seems like Ubisoft has. Dude, how did this company go from being one of the most respected open world companies in the history of gaming ever to now basically being attacked from without and from within?
Because greed. Because they're greedy. They'd never learned the expression which is so eloquently put in the movie Snatch, which I absolutely love that movie, which is... pigs get fed, and Ubisoft was one big pig. But what they didn't realize is that pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered. And Ubisoft grew into one fine, big, nasty, disgusting hog. And hence the expression, greedy as pig. And now Ubisoft is a fucking massive hog, and they're going to get fucking slaughtered. They're going to get slaughtered. It's that simple. Hogs get fucking slaughtered.
So I've done the math. Well, actually, I didn't do the math. I asked Grok to do the math. But it effectively boils down to this. Ubisoft would need to sell a minimum. That's a minimum of 28,571,429 copies.
Easy.
That's a minimum.
In how much time? In a day?
Well, it would need to be quite soon, right? Because they desperately need to pay back this debt.
If it's Blizzard soon, they're good. No, they're fucked, bro. They're fucked. No matter which way you spin it, they're fucked. And fuck them. I don't care. Fuck them. I'm happy. It makes me happy to see them squeal and squirm. Makes me happy. Provides me with joy.
The number I just gave you is based on the $1.4 billion debt that they set on.
So this is to put them in the black.
This is literally just for them to break even. To go, okay, we no longer owe $1.4
just
billion.
Get us out of the red.
Actually, it's 1.4 billion euro in debt. All right, but let's say 1.6 billion dollars in debt. That's just to break even. Now they've not made profits. On the company level, they've broken even.
Oh, no.
So this studio is screwed. And before you go, well, actually, Palworld sold that much. Palworld didn't sell for $70. I'm talking about $70 games. They don't sell 20 million copies. They do 8 million, 9 million, 10 million. That's not enough for Ubisoft. They need more than 10 million. They need 28 million copies sold at least $70 for the game. I highly doubt that that's going to work out. I highly doubt it. Not to mention the fact that they keep getting everything wrong in their collector's edition. Like, literally, the artwork of their collector's edition is Chinese art style.
Makes sense.
Not Japanese. It's Chinese. It's just like
Ubisoft pulling one of those, all them Asian people look alike. That's Ubisoft pulling one of those minor racist cards.
It's just like, bro, these
like,
guys just...
They virtue signaled so hard, they went all the way around, and it's now they're racist.
I'm half expecting Guillermo to show up on Nick Fuentes' podcast
I can't wait for the DLC to be Korean fashion wear.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, dude. Like, it is just at this point, it's like, bro, this game is
gonna be
such
like,
a
oh
joke.
yeah, listen, because you know our game is set in Japan, we figured we'd do a collab with Stellar Blade.
Yeah.
And people are like, wait, what? What are you talking about?
I mean, dude, at this point, there may as well be tanks and guns in this game. Like, they're getting everything else wrong, so why not just screw up the timelines as well? It's just,
so
dude, it's
up.
such a mess. And it genuinely is. I think just because we know from reports over half of this game's developer base, this is the first time they've ever made a game in their entire lives. So they have no idea what they're doing. They're grasping at straws, trying to figure out. Well, the problem for Ubisoft is all the developers that know how to make video games don't want to work there anymore. So they left. So Ubisoft has to hire straight out of college in order to get developers to actually make their games. So I don't have high hopes for this game. I don't necessarily, I want to be clear here. I'm not suggesting that this game is going to sell no copies. It is an Assassin's Creed game. It does have an audience. There are people who are diehard fans who will play every.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if it didn't, though?
Bro, if this game mega failed and I get to make videos for the next few months just dancing on the grave of Ubisoft, I would be like, so excited.
I know that my behavior towards Ubisoft is especially toxic, but that is because Ubisoft is an especially toxic company. Like, straight up. Yeah. They've popularized some of the most disgusting forms of microtransactions. Like again, I will never forgive XP boosters and coin doublers in single player games. It's not gonna happen. I will never forgive this.
I'm right there with you. I think, and it is important that people know this. I am not one of those people that want the gaming industry to burn to the ground for no reason. Right? It's not like if these studios turned around tomorrow and started making good video games again that put the customer first, I would be the first to stop complaining. Because in
the case of Ubisoft, I'm a vengeful little bastard. Fuck them.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, from my perspective, it's more a case of I will not praise or try to defend companies like Ubisoft that has done everything in their power to screw over gamers. Let's forget about the woke shit. Let's forget about the politics. Let's just talk about good, honest game design. This studio is a blight on the gaming industry.
Absolutely.
It took formulaic design to the absolute max, to the point where you cannot even tell the difference between their games because all of them formula-wise are exactly the same thing. And it keeps charging more and more money for it.
I have nothing against that. You want to be giga-formulaic, go right ahead. Make every game Assassin's Creed with a different skin. I don't mind. The part where I come in and care is, again, where they go like, how about an EXP booster on this single-player video game? How about a coin doubler on this single-player video game? How about some pay-to-win microtransactions on this single-player video game? And I will resent that for the rest of my life. So for me, as much pain as can be inflicted, and by pain, I mean financial pain, into this organization, it is never going to be enough. And I understand that there's going to be some developers, they're going to lose their jobs and all of this stuff. And I fucking hate to see it. I really do. I don't want you losing your job. But the reality is, you should have been looking for another job at this point. Like, I'm sorry. I know it's fucking rough. Guess what? Nobody's going to bleed out for me if all of a sudden I keep riding YouTube into a grave. It is what it is. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah,
like, I'm sympathetic to your cause. 100% I am. I don't want to see people go through hardships of losing their jobs, but Ubisoft needs to burn to the ground. So does Bungie, by the way. Ubisoft and Bungie both need to burn into the fucking ground until there's absolutely nothing left and they can serve as a cautionary tale for other companies not to follow suit in these disgustingly greedy business practices. Fuck 'em.
The problem is all of the other companies keep going, I think I can make it work, So the
other companies keep going, I got one more in me.
Yeah, I can do it one more time.
Hold my beer.
Do this. Yeah. Speaking of companies that seem to be going, we can do more to piss off the community. We have to talk about Naughty Dog.
No.
Now, I don't think it is a secret at this point that Naughty Dog's second installment of The Last of Us wasn't universally loved. Like it was a bit of a room splitter, if you will. Like some people didn't mind it, other people really didn't like it. So Neil Druckmann, following the events of Last of Us Part 2, decides for the Heretic Prophet, his next game. So by the way, he announced that there will probably not be a Last of Us Part 3.
We talked about it last week.
Yeah. But then he goes on to talk about what the Heretic Prophet is going to be about. And it's about religion. It's a game that focuses quite heavily on religion. Now, it is a fictional religion. But
this is your wheelhouse, Akalon. This is your wheelhouse, brother.
Well, it's a completely fictional religion. Now, completely fictional is oftentimes a bit of a misnomer because nothing is ever completely fictional. It's literally just you're borrowing from stuff you know. And if you borrow from enough sources, it starts to look original. But there's no such thing as an original work. Because to make an original work would be like me saying invent a color. How? You can't even think of a color that doesn't exist. It's very difficult. Most of the stuff we invent is purely by accident. Right? We want to do one thing, but we end up doing something completely wrong. And then it turns out to be something completely new. But it's going to borrow from something. Right? You're not going to be able to create something completely unique that's never existed before, but you can borrow from enough sources. So religion is a bit of a divider, right? It is. If some people play this and they go, wait, I'm a Muslim and I'm seeing some pretty strong Muslim sort of practices here, and it is disrespectful, they're probably not going to be super happy about it. Christians the same, Jews the same. So you are sort of going, I guess you're making life hard for yourself.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
Scientology.
Yeah. They'll burn your shit down. Those guys are crazy.
No. What I'm saying is you said you can't invent a religion out of thin air. Scientology.
No, but Scientology isn't an invention of a religion.
It is.
Scientology it's a new religion. But no, it's a new religion. But if you actually look at what they do, nothing about it is unique. They're just borrowing from a bunch of other bullshit and repackaging it in a new idea. But it is stuff that's existed before.
Do you know what is the thesis of Scientology?
Yeah, some aliens came and dropped a bunch of bodies into volcanoes, and out of these volcanoes came, but think about this, okay? So dropping bodies into volcanoes isn't an old thing. We have cultures that did drop their bodies into volcanoes as part of their burial rituals. So that's not unique, right? Aliens is older than the creator of Scientology. They've existed long before. So that's also a borrowed thing. It's not something that he invented. The point I'm more making is, if you were to try and invent something that has literally never existed before, it would be impossible because you would have to think of something without drawing from any of your prior information. And you also have to be cognizant of the fact that you might be drawing from prior information without even realizing you're drawing from prior information. Right? That's how difficult that would be. You're always going to borrow from something. Now, again, the reason Scientology looks unique is because he borrowed from enough sources randomly that it ends up looking like a complete bullshit story all on its own. But it is still, you can trace where a lot of this stuff comes from by looking at other things, right? So, for example, the whole where they sit and they hold these things and they cleanse you, that's just cleansing auras. The pagans did this, hundreds of years before him. He's just found a technology way of cleansing auras. So but I'm not even, the reason I'm bringing all of this up isn't even to criticize the game. It's actually to say, listening to the plot of this game, it sounds like a very interesting idea. Like, apart from the fact that you're making your life very difficult going with religion, because he himself said the game focuses on faith and religion.
Yeah.
That does already present like that's a bold strategy. Let's see how that plays out. Right? Because it could play out really well if done right, but it could also split the room.
It is definitely going to be something where a lot of people are going to feel a certain way. I mean, just look at the current state of the world. Like, why do you think the world is like this right now? You know, all of the wars that we got going on, a lot of them are because of religion. Some of them are also just because of greed, but there's a lot of religion being thrown around. And I don't want to comment on geopolitical stuff because I'm an idiot. But yeah. That's just the thing that I'm saying. That's going to be something that's going to be very divisive by its own nature.
Yeah, I mean, religion by its very nature is foundational to people's existence, right? I'm a Christian, and my Christianity is very close to me, right? So, for example, I can't watch movies that have a lot of blasphemy in it. I genuinely, it hurts me to hear it being done when people say Jesus or God. That hurts. I feel it. It's not a fun thing for me to experience. And I can't watch stuff that makes fun of God in any way, shape, or form. Right? So this is just how religion works. It's a personal thing, and it's very much part of you. The problem with this is when you go after the religious route, and maybe your developers have a specific sort of ideological bend that makes them hate one religion over the other, they might start to write some of that with complete... not really necessarily doing it on purpose, but because their bias allows for it, they start writing things in one way that makes a lot of players go, whoa, they're talking about my religion here. Like, a lot of these practices is based on my faith. And that will offend a lot of people. Now, I'm not for a second saying you shouldn't offend people. You should be allowed to offend as many people as you want. But it is going to split the room a little bit, right? There is going to be a room splitter there. But the premise of the game looks really good. Do you know what the premise is, by the way?
You're a bounty hunter. That's pretty much as I know. A space bounty hunter. But I've seen like the outline of a leaked plot or something. I didn't look too deeply into it because I might end up playing the game, so I don't want to spoil it. But
so the leaked plot is now confirmed. So you are a bounty hunter that go to this planet. I can't remember.
Are you about to spoil the game for people?
No. This was Neil Druckmann himself that confirmed this.
Okay, so what you're about to say is officially confirmed stuff. Just because some people will be sensitive to spoilers.
Yeah. At least according to the journalists, right? The media, this is a confirmed plot. At least the outlines of it, right? We don't know exactly the ins and outs, and the game is still early in development, so sometimes a lot of things change from early development to actual finalized game. But you're this bounty hunter, you go to this planet that no one has heard from in 600 years. This planet was once part of the human empire or whatever, but then for some or other reason, there was a religion that started on this planet a period of time beforehand. There's this religion that started on the planet, and at first the religion was just a normal faith, right? The people follow this faith. And then about 600 years ago, all connection with the outside world is cut from this planet. Not only that, but anyone who goes to the planet never returns. There's no one ever comes out of this planet. And you decide to go to this planet because you're hunting members of your former crew for some reason. We don't know what the reason is, but something happened and you're hunting these members. When you arrive on this planet, you realize you'll never be able to leave until you figure out what the hell is actually going on here. The main focus of the game is this...
That makes me kind of sad. I wanted the game to be more about space exploration and less about, we land on this planet and that's it. Like they start the game off in a goddamn spaceship. I want to fly the spaceship. I don't want to be crash landed on a planet.
No, you're not going to be spacefaring. You're going to be on this planet. Stuck here, knowing you have to figure out what went wrong here. How did this happen? Why is the planet
60% less interested.
The main focus of the game is obviously faith and religion, but then there's also a massive focus, for Neil at least. They want the game to feel alone. they really want you to feel like you are alone in this game. Like, you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what to do next.
Sounds a lot like a Souls-like.
You just know you need to, you need to get off of this planet.
Is there a dodge button?
I have no idea, right? I have no idea. But it sounds like a decent plot, right? He actually says the game is going to be less cuddly than The Last of Us. Now, The Last of Us wasn't significantly cuddly. So, if he wants the game to be less cuddly than that, then I don't know. Like, is the game going to kick you in the nuts every 5 seconds? I don't know. Right?
That sounds like fun.
This just in. Rurikon really into cock and ball torture.
Yes.
But yeah, it fundamentally sounds like a good plot. Sounds like something that I would definitely want to play. I still hate the main character. Like, just the look of her. Such a hot girl as far as the model goes, and then the game just makes it look weird. But I'm hoping that there's a character, not necessarily a character creator, but a customizer. I'm not sure. I don't think Last of Us allowed you to customize the characters, did it? Not at all. So maybe that's not a Neil Druckmann special thing. But I wouldn't mind if you're able to change the hair and stuff.
What is the Neil Druckmann special?
I don't know. From what I can understand, or from what I'm seeing, he really likes buff girls that the memes are to be believed. He likes buff girls to take him up pooper.
Oh, I don't know. Never mind. I was about to say nothing wrong with buff girls right up until you said take it. And which, again, I guess there's nothing wrong with that either if you're into that. But pause.
That does appear to be his thing.
I just pause at buff women. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have no problem with buff girls, but I have different problems with the man jaw bullshit. There's actually a developer that I still need to watch that video, but there's apparently a developer that leaked why so many female characters these days look masculine, and it's apparently, at least from what the little bit that I have seen, I still need to watch the full video. It has something to do with the engine, and genuinely the engine. The way the engine ends up making things look just makes it look weird. And not entirely sure. So I'll have to watch the video to get
I think it's the Decima that they're using. I don't know if it's Decima that they use for The Last of Us.
No, I'm not talking about Last of Us. I'm talking about games in general, right? So here specifically, it seems like they're talking about Unreal 5. But like I said, I have not watched the video yet.
There's friggin' Eve is in Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah, but
so I'm sure that Unreal Engine 5 can do that too. Isn't the first Descendant in Unreal Engine 5?
From what I understand, there's optimization stuff that allows for makes developers to sort of give up. But again, I'm not really going to talk about it in detail because I've not watched it.
But I'm just saying
the video first.
That can't be the reason, because the first Descendant is in Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah. I mean, on that
you remember the first Descendant, right?
Yeah. The game that everyone tells me isn't just trying to goon its way to success. But everything I've seen about the game is just it trying to goon its way to success. But never mind that. I've just seen Twitter comments from people who have watched the video. So I cannot yet discuss any of it. There's just the developer that's saying that this is why the man jaw is a thing. And I'll watch the video and then I'll let you guys know. I genuinely haven't had time to watch the video yet. I just don't like the female protagonist of Heretic or Intergalactic. I don't like the look. I told you, we spoke about this, right?
Yeah.
Their attitude from the beginning just sort of makes me go, I don't like you. And that sucks a little because I'm supposed to play as you. I prefer to like the people I play as. I don't want to hate them from minute one. But I'm open-minded. I'm more than happy to give the game a go and see if it actually turns into a game that I love, because that does happen too. Games that I hate from the first moment I see it, and then I play it and I go, wow, okay, it's actually quite fun. I should not have hated this game. So I'm happy to give it a go. What's your thoughts on Heretic?
You're not going to give it a go. It's only going to release on PlayStation.
It'll come to PC eventually, and that's when I'll give it a go. Yeah, I don't play things on PlayStation.
My take on it is like the whole, because I didn't know about a lot of the stuff that you just spoke about. I haven't been keeping up with it. I've been having a lot of IRL issues, and trying to keep up with anything for the last couple of weeks has been insane. So I just focus on Monster Hunter. That's it. But like, I was more excited for it potentially being a spacefaring game where you'd be like bounty hunting on multiple planets. That seemed way cooler. The idea that we're just going to be on the same planet all the time, that kind of like puts a damper on my space enjoyment. But then you said, but also it's going to be harder than The Last of Us. And I'm just like, I'm into that. But the thing is, about how are they implementing that difficulty, right? Is it actually going to be proper difficulty, or is it going to be just like numbers? It's like, numbers go up. It's like, okay. So if I have to, because I remember specifically playing Uncharted 4, and which is also from Naughty Dog, and I was like, let me play it on the hardest setting, and it's like playing it on hardest was actually boring as shit, because it would take you like 50 headshots to kill anybody, and if you like put your pinky finger outside of cover, that's like 80% of your health instantly. And I was just like, okay, this isn't really that much fun, but sure, I guess. So if that's their idea of it's going to be less cuddly, not interested. If the idea is just like, no, we're going to have this one difficulty, it's going to feel more challenging, that I'm down for. But yeah.
I almost always, when I see difficulty sliders and it includes monster health, I just go for normal. Because usually Monster Hunter health for most people is like, this is going to be much more difficult. Monster health or health pools. It just equates to bullet sponge.
You want to know which one bothers me?
Yeah.
One of the things that bothers me the most about difficulty is when they fuck with parry timings. On normal, here's how hard it is to parry, and then on hard, here's how hard it is to parry. And I was like, no, fuck you. Fuck that. That's stupid. Yeah. Because doing that ensures that you're not really preparing players on normal to play on the harder difficulties, because you're going to fuck with their parry timings, and that's stupid.
So there's a number of things that I think is almost always immediate red flags for me when it comes to difficulty timings. One of them is health pools. That's a red flag, because it means, okay, you've just made the monsters bullet sponges. The other is your own health. So you do get games that go, if you go on hard, you're only going to deal half damage, and monsters are going to deal 150 damage. And it's like, bitch, that's not fun. I don't want to get one shot, and I need to shoot 400 times. What's the point of this? What difficulty sliders should be is an increase in AI. Monsters should become smarter about how they fight. So you can leave health pools literally the way they are. I'm always amazed at this, that people still have not figured that out. The monsters, 80% of the monsters in Elden Ring would be super easy to kill if Elden Ring had the AI of almost any other game on the market. Because most of the monsters in Elden Ring don't take a lot of hits to die. You can kill those giant golems with like 4 hits. The issue is getting 4 hits. The issue isn't the fact that it's difficult to kill the thing. It's that I don't know when I can hit you because you keep attacking me in weird angles, right? And then you have those same monster types.
Puzzle,
yeah, it's figuring out when am I allowed to hit you and when can I not hit you, right? That's where it gets fun. And that's why it is so fun. But imagine if you played Monster Hunter or Elden Ring and that same golem took 500 hits to kill. Suddenly not so much fun anymore. Because now I'm dealing with all of the other bullshit strategies that I have to follow, but also I'm doing no damage to this thing at all. It gets very tedious very quickly. And I hate that because most difficulty sliders is just that. By the way, the mob is still going to be dumb as a rock. He's just now also going to be a rock. Oh, man. I was already not having a lot of fun killing this, and now I'm having less fun killing this because it's taking more
He's
time
going to be dumb as a rock, but he's also an actual rock.
He's like an actual rock now. There are games that did it really well. Cyberpunk 2077 did it really well, but the reason it does it really well is the AI generally is already very good in Cyberpunk. Even on normal, the AI is very good. It hides, it covers, it tries to sneak around you. So on difficulty, it just takes longer to kill enemies. Some of it's a little boring because when I hit you in the head, I do expect you to die. I just shot a bullet into your brain. I don't care how good you are or how strong you are. Bullet to the brain is game over. That's checkmate. That's the end of the road. But of course, that's not.
Some people got shot in the head and they have like really thick skulls, so it doesn't go through.
Dude, the gun that I have, that's sort of my go-to gun, is a literal tank killer. Right? It's like those, what are they called again? The 50 cals. I shoot with a 50 cal headshot, and the guy on hard goes, let's go. I'm like, bitch, your head should be gone. Like, there should not be a head.
A 50 cal is kind of rough. Kind of rough surviving a 50 cal headshot.
Yeah.
I don't think helmets are covering that one either.
No, unless you have a tank for a helmet. Like you're literally walking around with a tank on your head. You're probably not surviving that.
I think you're good.
Yeah. And also, if you can carry a tank, holy shit.
That's impressive.
Yeah. But anyways, so Heretic Prophet, there's some new news there. Well, I'll keep you up to date on anything that happens further down the road. Final story. Did you see the Split Fiction dev?
Joseph Fares?
Yeah.
I know of Joseph Fares. I don't know what he's done. What did he do?
So, Split Fiction comes out with very little fanfare. Quite frankly, most people seem to not even really know this game launches until it launches, right? Like, people kind of conjecturally knew that there was a game being made by Joseph at some point. This guy has a pretty good studio and his games are pretty good. I've never played any of these games to completion, but I know the people that play it love it.
One of the things that I'll say about Joseph Fares off the bat is that the games his studio makes are incredibly consumer friendly. So I could go buy Split Fiction right now and we can both play it in multiplayer at the same time using my code. At least that's the way that it was for the game A Way Out, and I believe that this one's the same thing. So it's like you just need one person to buy the game and two people are able to play it through the whole thing. No fucking, barriers, no fucking invisible. The thing is, you can only play when I'm playing as well. Because obviously, I bought the game. If you buy the game, then you play the game, and then we can both still play together with just one code, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty good idea. Download the game, play with the other player. It's very...
I played a little of A Way Out. Very little. I played like maybe an hour and a half of A Way Out.
That was really good. I liked it.
What I played, what I loved about it is the concept.
Yeah.
The idea is so cool.
Split Fiction is the same thing, and then there's the other one, which was
Brothers.
It Takes Two. There's Brothers, and there's It Takes
Brothers,
Two.
It Takes Two, A Way Out, and now Split Fiction.
Now Split Fiction.
Okay. But when Split Fiction came out, there were no massive Twitter posts of people celebrating the launch of this game or people really looking forward to this game a week or two beforehand. It felt like no one really even knew that this game was coming out until it finally launched. And it did super well, right? The game had like 250,000 peak concurrents, or maybe even more.
There's 115,000 people playing right now.
There you go, right? So this game did super well. But in an interview, the people who ask him questions find what I imagine is like the only comment to the cinematic that accuses the game of being woke slop. Now, it should be mentioned here not a single one of the woke channels or anti-woke channels spoke about this game leading up to this game. I made no videos on it. Smash made no videos. And Endymion made no videos. Hypnotic made no videos. None of us covered this game. Asmongold made no videos on this game. None of us considered this game woke. I mean, yes, it has female protagonists, but female protagonists does not rise to woke levels. That's not how it works, right? I didn't think the game was woke, so I didn't cover it. No one else did. But they find this one comment, and he goes on this rant answer where he's like, this is ridiculous. What is this feminist bullshit? This game is based on my daughters, and I don't care about...
Here's what I can tell you. When the game was revealed, I don't know if it was when it was revealed or if it was showed on a PlayStation thing.
It was at the Game Awards, I think, when he first revealed it.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that one. Although on that one there was probably some pushback there as well. But I remember that every time I've seen this game, I have seen comments of people instantly saying like DI and shit like that. And that's on my stream.
Yeah.
That's on my stream, which is like even more rare than in like I can only imagine
coming to your stream to make sure that you know this game is DI bullshit. I like that. Yeah, nice going, guys.
No, but see, there you go, right? But that's the thing. So if there's even people showing up in my streams and screaming DEI at this game, you can imagine how bad it was like on the official PlayStation streams. And these are things of which there are sentiment reports being made, and they are sent back. And that's probably one of the things that he saw, and that is probably the basis. If you went on rant, which I haven't even seen it, that's probably the basis.
It's not like I call it a rant because it's sort of. It doesn't make any sense. Look, there are people that's going to call a lot of things pretty much always, right? The whole point is, if you're going to speak against people calling your game woke, it has to at least be a majority opinion or close to a significant minority opinion.
Listen,
if you're finding 5 people that call the game woke, that doesn't mean that it is even... So I'm not actually talking about him, right? I have no problem with him because he just answered a question. I'm talking about the people that asked him the question. And I'm thinking, I think they put that in there because his answer was actually perfection. Just FYI. His answer was beautiful.
Oh, okay. So who was running the interview?
I don't remember who was running the interview, but it was an interview I think it was part of the Sony thing, where they had this interview and they read the comment, and then his answer was legitimately, I think, a great answer. He said, I don't care what's in your pants. Brothers was about 2 men. These female characters are based on my daughters. I don't give a shit. I'm just making games for people to have fun in. I couldn't care less about feminism, not feminism. I don't care what's in your pants. And I was like, bro.
Fucking based Joseph Fares.
Based answer, who cares, right?
Fuck the Oscars guy being based as fuck again.
Yeah. What confused me and why I call it a rant is I don't understand the context. Why was that even a question that was asked in the first place?
Because like I told you, like when this game showed up on showcases, people are just like screaming DI, blah, 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 the usual stuff
but again,
on live streams. And it you know, it shows.
Yeah. Yeah, but so here's why I say, if you have a group of 10,000 people, right? And out of 10,000 people, you have like 100 people screaming DEI feminist bullshit, right? That's genuinely not newsworthy. Like that doesn't. Yeah. You have 9,800 or 9,900 people that love it, and then you have 100 people that go DEI slop, and it's like, yeah, all right, you know.
Okay, so listen, we spent the first 20 minutes of this podcast talking about tariffs and import taxes over one comment.
Two comments.
I'm leaving.
2 comments.
Fuck you. 2 comments. Oh, that's so much more. That's twice as many. Fuck.
Dude, that's 100% more. That's 100% more than what you said.
Oh my god, dude.
Being semantical and
fighting over the semantics, and then giving it like it was actually 2 comments, sir.
Yeah.
It was more than 1. Oh god.
Now I think at the time of making the list of our topics and also me covering the video, I was very confused, right? But I do see your point, right? I see your point in they may be posing the thing, because oftentimes negativity bias allows for you to see negative
100%.
stuff way more, right? Than you would see positive stuff. So maybe my approach should be softer, right? Maybe I shouldn't be so perplexed. The reason I guess it annoys me is it gives credence to what I like to call the worst elements of the anti-woke community. Your people from Yorch Torch, Pirate Nation, every once in a while, Andy Pants, these guys. These are people who basically will bitch and moan about anything, right? If it's even perceived as being slightly woke, it's completely woke. And if that was your only sort of approach, okay, great. You know, you have a much higher standard of what is and is not woke than what I or any other gamer has, but that's fine. You're allowed your standards. But then a lot of these guys also just lie. Like, just straight up lie. You know, these are the same guys, by the way.
Pirate Nation in particular, I've seen quite a few lies from him, and when I called it out, he deleted his tweet, and I was like, how brave of you to stand on your fucking random-ass 4chan troll post.
I mean, a lot of these guys will just twist the sort of evidence in their direction, even when the evidence is supported. So, to this day, Yorch Torch and Andy Pants insists Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was a complete failure. Given all of the information we have, it clearly not being a complete failure. It was clearly successful. Clearly, most gamers didn't care that Henry could engage in homosexual relations. But apparently, and look, it is okay for you to have a principal problem with something and other people don't share that principal problem.
There's 36,000 people playing right now with a 255,000 all-time peak. For this game, it's fucking massive.
What is its 24-hour peak?
50,000.
Well, there you go. Right? That's not bad. That's not bad numbers considering the game is what, almost a month and a half old at this point, if not older, right? The point is, right? I need to be able to criticize a game that I think is going to work. Like, for example, I'll use Heretic Prophet here. I have a feeling Heretic Prophet might be quite woke. But if Heretic Prophet sells incredibly well, and it does incredible numbers, I also then have to be honest enough to go, you know what? Fair enough. I had certain principles, and as a principled person, I didn't support this game, but clearly gamers did. And that's fine. But to then lie and sort of twist the numbers and go, well, look at how fast this game fell off. You know, went from 250 down to 150,000 people in a week. And it's like, bro, what are you talking about? That's still 150,000 people playing it a week later. That's good numbers. Like, why are you inventing a problem to push your narrative?
Some people told me that, like, Monster Hunter Wilds was not successful at all. There's only 1.3 million concurrent peak players. I'm like, what?
Well, they also...
What do you mean?
So one of
You're
the things...
crazy!
Apparently, Monster Hunter Wilds is also woke.
Oh, yeah. Giga woke. It is so woke. You have no idea. But it's not.
Why would they accuse it? Like, what element could they point to that might be considered woke?
So, there's a character in there. I mean, for starters, in one of the villages, there's a lot of brown people, I guess.
Oh yeah.
I guess that can be something. I think that's been pointed out as being woke, which I'm just like, you know that when you go to different places in the world, kind of like when you're traveling in Monster Hunter and you go to a different place, there's different cultures, different races.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they exist.
Kind of realistic, actually. But, I mean,
surprising. I know. It's crazy.
I find that realistic.
Insanity. So that could be one point. The other one could be potentially one of the characters, one of the handlers, is a male character that is a little bit more effeminate and quirky, I guess. But there's no mention of his sexuality or nothing. It's just he's slightly more effeminate, I guess. And I guess you can look at that character and be like, fucking woke as fuck. Is like, I don't know.
See, this is why
those are the two things that I can think of off the top of my head. Oh no, wait. A lot of people don't like the fact that Nata is of a different race. You know, Nata the child? They don't like his ethnicity, I guess. And because of that, it's woke.
So,
I don't know.
I want to be clear to anyone that might be looking at this. These people do not represent the anti-woke movement. The broader anti-woke people do not consider Monster Hunter woke. We do not care that there are people from other races in video games. These are not things that we care about. What we care about is when people from other races are tokenized. So if you're literally just putting them there, so like Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's so clearly a token character. It's so clearly a character that doesn't belong there, that shouldn't be there. You just wanted it so that you could tick a little box. This is the stuff that we're against. Mainly because tokenization is incredibly racist. It's not good when you tokenize other people. If you want to have people in there, do the work. Write them there. Make sure that they make sense there. Or, better yet, make a game for them. If you really wanted Black Assassins, Africa is big. Pick a place and make the game there if you really wanted to have that. But don't go to Japan and then shoehorn your black character in there and accept me to accept it. But when it comes to characters that might be slightly effeminate, when it comes to characters having other races than me, I have never cared about that. Most of the anti-woke crowd doesn't give a shit about that. What you have is sadly the same in every single movement, right? Every single movement sadly has this. The extreme elements that don't really care about the movement. They care about the power that the movement can give them. So there are people within this movement who, from their perspective, this is a wonderful way for them to get clicks, to make money, to build audience. So they're playing 100%.
There's a lot of bullshit when it comes to people trying to seek faults in Monster Hunter. So I've just kind of like gotten used to it. And it's like it comes with the amount of popularity that the game has gotten. That's not to say that there aren't a lot of things that are criticism worthy. Like I've talked about performance and even the difficulty and other aspects of the game. Yeah, there's plenty of things to criticize, but the woke stuff, I don't think there's anything there. But again, people in the comments can correct me. Like if you want to point out anything specific, feel free to point it out. And me and Akalon will talk about it on the next episode. But those are the three things that when I think about what could they possibly be pointing at, it was just those three things. But other than that,
I don't consider any of those three things to be rising to the level of woke because it doesn't seem forced. It doesn't seem like you took your politics and forced it into the game. And as long as you're not forcing your politics into the game, it's not woke. It's a creative decision that you felt served the game, that you felt served the immersion of the game. Congratulations, you've just made a video game. That's kind of how they work. And I'm happy to have that. So it's important to note that there are some people who will just play the crowd. Right? Because they know there are some people that consider Monster Hunter woke. They'll start claiming that it's woke in order to pick up the crowd members that do think it's woke. Because all they care about is actually building an audience. They don't give a shit about principles, applying principles.
I was just thinking about something. People also say that the females take the center stage more than the male characters. And the thing is, I guess if you play a female character, that's correct because there's a lot of chances where your character takes center stage. So if you're playing a female, that's kind of like self-inflicted. If you're playing a male character, though, no, there's absolutely moments where, I mean, right at the beginning of the game, your character just goes like, this is the cutscene that everybody's seen. Your character just goes like, the bird, that's all right. And he just fucking has that moment where he hangs off the boat. It's like jumps off into the boat like Giga Chad energy. And there are more moments like that throughout the story where your character just goes like, it's time, it's fucking go time. And it, especially at the end, like, bro, at the end of the game, there's a moment where your character just goes like, let's fucking go. There's like pure, unadulterated fucking main character syndrome.
I don't care. Like, even if you have something like Split Fiction, right, that is 2 female protagonists, as long as there's no politics, right? So as long as these 2 girls aren't walking around bashing men the whole time, and
I'm thinking in my head, like, is there something else? And I think I've heard somebody make that argument. It's like, oh, the female characters are constantly lecturing the male character, and I was like, no, what game did you play?
Yeah, I mean,
it's weird.
But that's exactly it, right? I think the definition of woke is the forceful inclusion of modern day politics into media. Be that film, be that movies, be that series, doesn't matter. If there's modern day politics being forced into that media, and remember what we say when we mean forced. We mean that it doesn't make logical sense to be there. That's not the same as someone like Hideo Kojima making an entire video game. Well, actually, I don't think there's ever been a non-political Hideo Kojima game. Yeah. All of his games are super political. But when you look at his games, they're always commentary on modern day. Right? That's what his games are. From Metal Gear Solid and government being too big and government being sneaky and scumbaggy to now Death Stranding, where Death Stranding warns about this interconnected society that we have and how bad that is when people sort of lose human connection and instead just rely on artificial connection, right? And how bad that could be for the world and how it ends up cutting the entire world off from everyone else. So we're no longer connected to anything. But that's the point and purpose of his game. So the politics there makes sense. Right? It makes sense for that politics to be. So it's not forced into the game. He made the game from the beginning to be that way. But then you have Tash in a game about magic and dragons and elves. And suddenly you have this one character that's struggling with their sexuality. And you're just like, what? I'm just here to kill some dragons. What? Why am I suddenly playing therapist to this confused character? I don't understand it. There's magic, bitch. Just change yourself.
You're isolating Tosh way too much because you're not just playing therapy to Tosh. You're playing therapy to everyone in that fucking group.
Yeah, but everyone's sort of struggling, right? It's basically one giant struggle session that you're playing through. And that becomes forced. That's so clearly not how that world should be playing. But it's always about the force. The force is the main thing. If a game just has different characters and different ideas, but none of it is forced and it all just makes sense, I don't care. Like I said before, I'm not trying to make gaming right-wing. I don't want right-wing or left-wing politics in my video games. I just want video games. That's it. That's all I want. If a game tells me, if the name is Monster Hunter, I need to be hunting some monsters. And I don't need one of the characters there to start trauma dumping on me because someone misgendered them when they were 5. Bitch, I'm here to hunt monsters. Unless you're going to hunt with me, shut the hell up. I don't care. I couldn't care less about this shit.
You want to know the worst part about it? There's a child in that game that constantly says, no, this child will tell you like, hey, listen, I would like to invite you over for a meal. And you're like, oh, fuck yeah. And you go and you rush there. And then there's no food. She lied. There's no meal. There's nothing. She doesn't give you anything.
Woke bullshit, that.
I wanted to murder this child. No, there was like a bug in the beginning where for some reason some of the meal invitations weren't working properly. So there's a bunch of times I'm playing the game and this fucking child just goes like, "Ooh, Maki would like to offer you a meal." And I was like, fuck yeah, because Maki meal gives you like extra carbs on monsters. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go. And then I'd get there and it's like, Maki, my food. Where's my food? And she's like busy picking up rocks from the ground or some shit. I'm like, fuck you. I came here for food. What the fuck?
Oh, man. But no, at the end of the day, please, developers and gamers, stop paying attention to people who genuinely just want attention. Like, you don't have to agree with the anti-woke movement. You don't have to agree with the woke movement. But judge people based on their principles. Is someone standing up for something because they're principally standing up against something? Or are they just doing it because it gets them clicks? You should not be giving airspace. And I think that's the problem I have with his with the whole question existing there in the first place. You're giving airspace to people who genuinely don't deserve it. They should not get airspace.
Yeah.
Not in this, not in this, because they don't represent even a fraction of the gaming community. And these people are not people that you'll be able to make happy in any way, shape, or form. How do you make anti-woke gamers happy? Well, just don't make woke games. How do you make those people happy? You have to make a game that has no women in it. But then if there's no women in it, they might complain because
that sounds pretty gay.
There's no women in it. Yeah. All the romance has to either not be there or only male-on-male romance, which is then also woke, by the way. So can't have that. All of the characters have to be white. That sort of rules out a lot of places and a lot of time periods for you to make games.
That sounds
any
pretty
modern day
racist.
game is fun, right?
That sounds racist as fuck.
Yeah, but you have to do that if you want to keep these people happy. You also can't write about most things, right? Because most things would be off limits. It's impossible to make a game that way. Instead, make the game that you want to make. And whenever you get this impulse to sort of be political, like when you start to feel like, oh, I hate Trump, I should tell people I hate Trump. Tweet it, and then just make your video game. You can tweet as much as you want how much you hate Trump. You don't need to put it in the video game. We're hunting monsters here. There's no need for this.
I think as a developer, regardless of where you stand on it, I think you should just like not even. I don't tweet about Trump whether he's done something bad or something good. This is none of my fucking business. I don't. No, unless I'm someone that's like, no, listen, I am a fucking student of politics. Mm-hmm. I know everything there is to know. Unless I'm like to give you an idea. Before I even make a guide for Monster Hunter, I have to spend like at least 3 days studying the weapon to understand how the weapon works, to fully ingrain it into my brain. And this is to make a guide about a game that I fucking practically live and breathe. Yeah. Okay. Before I even say something about, okay, we need to like make a guide for this weapon. I got to get into this mind space. So it's like to talk about anything that is either political or geopolitical, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to need to take 3 months off to study this, to actually see all the facts. And then I can go and I can make a tweet about what this political thing did or whatever.
Let me just
too much effort.
We'll end the show with this. Something that I was reminded by yesterday. Michael Jordan had one of the greatest responses ever. So when Michael Jordan was at his peak, this Democratic senator or congressman or woman approached him because they wanted him to what's the word? Endorse. Right? They wanted him to endorse the senator, and he refused. He said, "No, thank you. I will not do it." And when they asked, they said, "Why not?" His response was, "Because Republicans buy sneakers too." And I was like, bro, based. That's true. That's true. Republicans buy sneakers too. Why would you piss off half your base? Just to what? Get some bag and then lose a lot of money on the flip side? So if you're a developer and you get the sense that you want to piss off either side of the political aisle, I don't care whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whoever. Always remember, the other side buys games too.
The way that I like to look at it is like, if you try to have a conversation with someone, nobody is inherently evil, right? Regardless if you're talking to someone who's left wing, right wing, you can probably have a conversation with one person. What happens is, if you just start surrounding people in echo chambers, they all just start to become more and more extreme. So I'm like, listen, brother, if we're here to talk about video games, let's talk about some video games. We're going to play some video games, have some fun. That's all I care about. All of the politics, shenanigans, whatever the fuck, is like, whatever, bro. I talk to people on an individual basis. If you're an insufferable asshole, I don't care which side of the politic aisles you're on, you're fucking gone. That's it. All you got to do for me to get rid of you is being an insufferable asshole. That's it.
Yeah. And here Rurikon is the most unpolitical streamer on the planet, and a podcast that is politics/gaming. But if you listen to a lot of the people in the comment section, I must say this. Someone complained and said, I hate this political bullshit, obviously complaining about me being way too political, and they can't watch anymore because everything is just political. And then the reply was, so whoever replied this, thank you so much. He was like, dude, the podcast was 3 hours long and the political discussion was like just over half an hour. Like, what are you talking about? The podcast was like mostly
that half hour was that insufferable.
And I wish people would actually, because I think a lot of people just, and it's fine, you don't have to like the stuff that I say. I'm not trying to make you like me. Just to be very clear, I have principles and I stand on those. But I wish people would realize most of what we discuss is gaming. The only politics we ever discuss is gaming-related politics. Like, for example, just there is currently a thing happening in the world that we could probably talk about that would immediately drive clicks. If I put either of these people's faces in the thumbnail...
Hassan and Asmongold?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
clicks.
bro, let's go. Let's get them clicks. Let's talk about the Hassan Piker Asmongold drama. Put that in the thumbnail. Boom, done.
but before the show started, me and Rurikon spoke about it, and we were both like, this has nothing to do with gaming. Like, not even closely related to gaming. The only thing it has related to gaming is it happened on the internet, and there's also games on the internet. And we were like, well, that's a little thin. We're just not going to cover that.
Work out. Yep.
Yeah. So we only ever talk about politics if and when it relates to video games. If it doesn't relate to video games, we don't talk about it. So yeah, for anyone that might wonder why politics ever does pop up, I obviously love politics. I do cover politics outside of video gaming on my channel. I love politics. I make no sort of secret of that. But on this podcast, we keep it strictly to the gaming industry, and oftentimes we will cover sort of shenanigans that happens on Twitch if it relates to the gaming industry. Like, for example, the Warcraft drama that happened. Yes, it wasn't drama about WoW, but the drama did happen because of Classic WoW, or Hardcore, rather. So it was something we could discuss. Anyways, that is to date, this is the longest podcast we've done, I believe.
I need to go work out, bro. I always have to work out after these podcasts. You're making me work out too late.
Bro,
it's your fault.
It's 3 hours and 20 minutes now.
It's your fault.
It's 4 hours is coming. I just know we're going to do 4 hours soon.
I want to go work out.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Rurikon, thank you so much for being here. This was the Mythic Banter. As always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and we will see all of you in the next one. Peace.